Hey, Halloween is Forever listeners, it's me, Steve. I just wanted to jump in here before the episode and let you know we got something special for you this week. I went to Brian and I said, hey Brian, what do you think about releasing one of our exclusive Patreon episodes that you can find on patreon.com/HalloweenIsForever as, a little treat for the regular audience? And he said, that's a great idea, Steve. I think we should do that. And I said, you know what, Brian, you're right. And so that's what we're going to do. So we have the very first episode of our Patreon exclusive podcast, Youth Group is Forever, episode 1, talking about Blood Pageant, featuring one Snoop Dogg. A little bit of hot water there for Snoop Dogg this week. And, I don't think we're as kind to him this episode either, even though we recorded it back in May. So, if you enjoy this episode, log on to patreon.com/HalloweenIsForever, become a Rascal member, and you can get all the other episodes. You'll get 10 episodes of Youth Group is Forever. You'll get the 10 past episodes of Family is Forever, and then you'll get the next series that starts in March. And you get all that for just $5 plus you get access to our Discord, as well as written reviews and anything else that we may have going on the Patreon. Plus you get that extra vote in any kind of showdown. So log on to there, but in the meantime, enjoy episode 1 of Youth Group is Forever, Blood Pageant.
Jesus Christ!
Oh boy, welcome, boys and ghouls. It's here. Finally, after waiting 11 long months, the first episode of our new Patreon exclusive podcast series is upon us. The day of reckoning, I dare say, is upon us. Welcome to the very first of many episodes of our new Patreon exclusive podcast series, Youth Group is Forever. Steve, welcome, my friend. Peace be with you.
I'm going to kill myself in front of you.
No, you say, and also with you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right. I am so excited for this, Steve. I've been taunting Steve via text message all week long. I know he was putting off watching this movie as long as possible. And I just can't help but feel like the tides have turned in my favor. No longer am I the one dreading watching the movie. No longer am I the one trying to pay attention, but desperately wanting to look at my phone because I hate what's on screen so badly. I am so excited, guys. We have an absolute gem here. And before we do that, let me explain. If you are new to this, perhaps if you're starting with the series and you didn't listen to Family is Forever, Steve made me watch all of the Fast and the Furious movies, which he inexplicably enjoys. I hate desperately, but had to watch 10 movies that were like virtually all 2+ hours, on average over 2 hours for the entire series. I hated it so much, but we talked about it, we made fun of him, and it was fun. This time around, I've decided instead of picking a franchise every month, we're just going to focus on a new, I'm going to say Christian genre film is how I'm going to refer to this. Okay. Because primarily we're going to be talking about like weird right-wing evangelical Christian horror and sci-fi movies, but there's going to be occasional non-Christian or not necessarily evangelical things in there, right? So but we're just going to talk about weird, like often politically right-wing, politically bent, quite often.
Yeah.
Christian, like propaganda style horror movies,
Yeah.
right? And we're going to go back. We're not just going to stick here in this, like in these, you know, kind of MAGA era films. We're going all the way back in some instances. So
Ooh.
just get prepared for that little teaser.
Ooh.
But I decided to kick it off with not the biggest gun in my arsenal, but a real formidable foe here for the very first episode, just to give you a taste of what you're going to be in the going to have in the old hopper for this. We are going to be watching a movie called Blood Pageant from 20 and 21. Steve, first, right off the right out of the gate, first impression, how'd you feel about Blood Pageant?
Do you remember it's a joke, I believe, in a very early episode of Family Guy. I think even like pre-first cancellation. There's an episode where Peter goes to jail, and he's in jail with a guy who stabs people. And then Peter gets let out, and then the guy who stabs people is just kind of left in jail by himself, and he's holding a knife, and then he stabs himself, and he goes, "Oh God, is this what I've been doing to people the whole time? This hurts." And I feel that's what I felt watching this. Yeah. Is like, is this what I've been doing to Brian the whole time, making him watch Fast and the Furious films?
Yes.
Is this what I've been doing to him? Because I hated this. I think I got physically ill at one point. I turned it off like twice. It took me 3 sessions to watch it.
Oh, this all makes me so happy. My heart is swelling like the Grinch when it grows 3 sizes and pops out of its little frame. For you to have that type of response to this movie, just wait. Because this movie, frankly, is a showstopper in terms of entertainment value compared to some of the other ones that we're going to watch. This is practically Citizen Kane compared to some of the other movies we're going to watch.
Sure.
This one. So this movie is decidedly a horror flick, you know, kind of demonic horror thing. You see that quite a bit in this kind of obscure subgenre of weird Christian horror movies. But also this one tries to be funny and topical in a hilariously cringy way. And I really enjoyed it. And you had a very negative visceral response to it. And I'm very happy about that.
There's things I find hilarious, but I feel like they're not the things I'm supposed to laugh at. And then
same.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure we'll talk about them. Yeah. It's just, it was just such a slog, and it just everything I expected from this type of shit. And I felt my own hubris collapse on me because I recall it was either on just like a regular Halloween Is Forever episode when we were talking about the topic, or it was on the last Family Is Forever episode. But I remember having a reaction of like, you said we're going to do Christian horror, and I was like, yes, we're going to. And I was getting excited in like a masochistic way. I'm not excited anymore. This was bad. This was too. The reality set in. That's the quote of the episode. That might need to be the episode title, is Steve's hubris collapses in on itself. This is, like I said, this is top tier in terms of entertainment value compared to some of these fucking movies. It's not the wildest, it's not the cringiest, but it is entertainment wise, it actually, I think, is among the better ones I've watched so far. It is a bizarre movie, but you can read between the lines. You know everything that's happening and why, right? So let me first talk a little bit about this movie. Do we want to do drinky poos before we?
Oh, sure,
get too
yeah.
deep? Too deep?
What do you?
Just so that.
Well, I'll do mine first because I'm not doing anything too exciting here.
Sure.
I was feeling real sleepy. Daddy was feeling tired, and I said, you know what? Instead of getting on some beers, I'm going to get a little bit of this nice Chinese black tea. So that's what I'm sipping on. Yeah. So I made myself a nice little pot of Chinese black tea. And you know what? Maybe this is something I'll start for this series. Maybe we need to take a temperance angle here, right? Maybe we need to respect, because we know, despite the fact that obviously everyone's constantly drinking wine in the Bible. Alcohol is the devil. That is one of the things that is the devil. And we're going to have a little segment later on, just kind of like you had the oil check that we would go through at the end of each episode. I've got my own little thing that we'll talk about here, and we'll learn how sex and being gay and alcohol and gambling and all these things are all the devil. And I would go as far as to say, if we're strictly speaking, or if once we get into those Mormon, I have a couple, spoiler alert, a couple Mormon movies on the docket potentially. I might need to figure something else out, because I think even for them, just hot drinks in general is the devil, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's any caffeine. So like, tea's out, coffee's out.
I have been, this is a complete side note, but it's related. I've been watching occasionally. I love to watch like cringy, religious stuff on, TikTok and Instagram, stuff like that. I can't help it. And there's these two kids that are, I believe, students at BYU.
Oh, great.
And they just walk up to they just ask questions to I believe they're non-Mormon, and they ask, basically kind of controversial questions to their Mormon classmates.
Yeah.
And it's really hilarious. Like they'll ask questions from like, cup of tea or cut off your finger, stuff like that. And or they'll be like $1 million or 5 minutes with Joseph Smith. Like they'll just ask them these questions and people's responses. And you can tell some of the kids are like in on the joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But some of them are not. It's very funny.
I have a similar Instagram follow, and it's this girl who I don't follow for her, but it's the comments that are wild. So like all of her,
I already know which it is.
Okay, you already know who it is, but
it's the girl who tells the corny jokes.
Yeah, I'll explain it for the audience.
It's so funny.
So there's a girl. She's on Instagram. She's just a very average girl, and she tells like the most cringiest, like corny dad jokes. Yeah. And then you get in her comments, and it is the most buck wild shit you have ever read, because it's like, it starts with kind of, I'm sure it started with just like that low level, damn, that's really funny, can you fart in my face? So like real low level shit. But I've seen,
it was probably like that's not funny, but show me your tits, you know what I mean? Because she's like, she looks like she's a college age, like, attractive girl, but she's very innocent. She's like extremely like puts off this persona on purpose as like of being very like kind of naive and innocent. She gives these look.
But then I've read it to where it's like, oh damn girl, that's so funny, can you 9/11 my mom? So like but then she posted a video not too long ago that was like, I'm starting my mission today. And then all the comments, like, half of them were like, oh, it makes sense now, because she was starting her Mormon mission. And now it makes sense as to why all of her content is so squeaky clean. And but like, she never really negatively interacts with all those comments that are like, why don't you squeeze cheese whiz onto my feet, like.
Yeah, it'll be like, I want you to skin me and rub your discharge into my flesh.
Yeah.
Like, it'll just be like so over the top. But I wasn't up to speed on the new development that she's Mormon. That makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah. But I mean, to say that the comments go buck wild, and then there's like a whole ritual around it where the first person there like is like waiting for the guy, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then like there'll also be a guy that just writes like literally 1,000 words. Like he'll just write a giant. It's wild. So what are you drinking on, Steven?
I decided I needed to give myself a treat because this movie was so fucking terrible, and I didn't have time to go out and go full soju Steve.
Yeah.
So I got myself this here Blackwater Imperial Stout by the Southern Tier Brewing Company, and it is their peanut butter cup Imperial Stout, so it is 10%, and it just it tastes like one of their Blackwater stouts, but it's fucking peanut butter cup. And it tastes gross. It gives me that. It's one of those beers that's like already so sugary and alcohol-y, it already gives me that fucking reflux. I took my reflux pill already. I don't give a shit.
You're just going for broke on this one.
Yeah, I'm getting lit up. I hate this movie. I want to not feel it.
I like that. I like giving you that feeling. All right, so let's just get right into this son of a bitch. It's a real treat. We mentioned when we kind of teased this on the Halloween is Forever podcast that there are actually 3 director credits here. All right, and they all have very kind of like like Christian ties here, right? But one of them, I would say 1 to 1.5 of them have actually done something of value, or at least in a, I would be in a, with some like respected films, I guess. So particularly a gentleman named Harvey Lowry. He's a director and producer. He also has done special effects. And I'm reading off his IMDb because I'm not digging too far into this dildo's career. But he did work on The Watchmen from 2009, and then the Passion of the Christ movie that everybody was all boned up about. With he did the special effects. Or worked on the special effects for the Passion of the Christ, which if you ever watch the movie, it's pretty fucking brutal, and the practical effects are pretty brutal. And then after that, we've got 2 other dildos, one of which, and I'm going back to my slow ass computer here, but Chris Gilmore, and she has worked on. I mean, she's done not a lot. However, she did work on the definitive Elvis: Elvis and Priscilla from 2002. I'm just kidding. She's done jack shit. She's really known for like these shitty Christian movies. And then Anthony J. Sands, he and Chris Gilmore both have co-director credits and co-writer credits. And he's got a little bit more of I mean, I don't know if I would go as far as to say pedigree, but he's worked on a couple of things here. The 1998's Dr. Dolittle, so that is something that actually got a wide theatrical release.
Yeah, but he just worked in the art department. Like
he just worked on it. Oh yes, I didn't mean to insinuate he directed it or anything like that. He just worked in the art department.
Yeah, I think the main thing to lay out is all 3 of them have never worked in a meaningful capacity on like they've worked on big films, but not in a meaningful above the line capacity. So
no, certainly not.
All of the work they've done on bigger films, they've taken the money, I guess, and translated it into doing smaller, shittier, low budget stuff. And this Harvey Lowry, he seems to be the more secular of the 3.
He does, yeah.
He doesn't do a whole lot, and he doesn't do a whole lot of Christian stuff, but also he does do some like sleazy stuff too.
Yeah, and I get the feeling he gained notoriety, and probably the investors in the film, which I get the feeling were really the other 2 primarily. They were really kind of touting him as somebody who worked on the Passion of the Christ film, which a lot of Christians got real boned up about. Back in the day, I remember, like, speaking of youth groups, like I remember the youth group that I was forced to go to in the late 90s, like went on a big field trip to go see Passion of the Christ, and people were like crying and puking and all this stuff because it's a brutal movie. And nobody, would have ever really seen much like that. The majority of people going to see this movie in that context. And so they were all boned up about this. And I'm sure they were able to really roll that out to investors and go, hey, we got one of the guys who did Passion of the Christ. And they were like, oh, that's the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life, or that's the only movie I've ever seen in my life. Who knows? But so I feel like he got some cred on the Christian cinema circle as a result of that, because that's like Christian cinema's godfather, right? Was Passion of the Christ,
right? So I gotta wonder his credit on the film, on the Passion of the Christ, which is also a credit he shares on a lot of other films, including Idle Hands, is director of operations or operations manager. But a
Mhm.
lot of the time it's just director of operations. Like he was the director of operations on Van Helsing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out like where that falls, like what does it actually entail?
Yeah. I get the feeling it's just, I mean, operations, typically you're like a logistics guy,
Yeah.
right? So you're how to get, yeah.
Yeah, I assume like he's probably in charge of like transport and like getting trailers on set and
Mm-hmm.
like getting
It's like, moving big bits of equipment, across, and like you're probably oversee like the maintenance and if there is like the facilitation of union labor on set, if that has to happen, like, and then obviously like managing all the managing the people who are working on set, like in a physical capacity, setting up the yeah.
Well, see, because no, that falls more under like the first AD assistant director. They would be the ones who like get all the actors in place, get everybody moved to where they should be. So I think.
Oh, I meant like the people who are like literally the people who are like the electricians and the set builders and all that.
Yeah, that's still first AD, because the first AD would go to the heads of those departments and tell them what to do. So like,
gotcha.
So I think I think he would be more like getting crafty to set, like hiring craft services and getting them on set. So like,
gotcha.
that's why I'm just trying to figure out what his role.
It's just not a role that I've really seen on movies very much.
Or
so I'm
IMDb.
Just thinking about like, yeah, that's what I was thinking of, like from an events coordinator standpoint, like what does the operations team do? But
yeah.
In any case, yeah, these people aren't above the line type of credits as you mentioned. So I do want to mention a couple of the performers here, because you see a lot of people who have spent time in the wonderful world of Hallmark movies, especially Hallmark Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of two big leads. They're your good. I would say it's almost reminded me a little bit of a real shitty version of like Something Wicked. This Way Comes, where they talk about the light and the dark paths, and I almost feel like there's like the light side is of course Crystal, played by Joanna DeCastro. And she is the, unwavering Christian who is here to, make sure nobody goes astray, and really is just kind of keeping everybody honest, I'll say, as far as their Christian values are concerned. She's kind of the true light. She's the one who's keeping everybody in check. And then you've got Juliana DeStefano, and she plays Amy, and she is the kind of the rebel, that has a personal tragedy, which we'll talk about, which ties very much into the movie. And I absolutely love that part. And she kind of takes the wrong path, right? And has to circle around the long way to get saved and all that type of stuff. There's a couple other people. Beverly Mitchell. She was actually in Seventh Heaven. She was one of the daughters in Seventh Heaven. You get all these like weird Christian TV and movie like cameos that come on here and there. You weirdly get, we'll talk about his involvement, but Snoop Dogg is literally displayed on the poster as if he is the star of the movie. He is in the movie. They shot with him for, I'm going to guess, an hour. Mm-hmm. And then they milk that for as much as they humanly can. He is barely in the movie. He was barely on set. He has very little to do with the story. It is actually hilariously shameful how much they marketed him as a part of this movie.
His involvement as the film goes on gets funnier and funnier.
Oh, it was the best part of the movie. I was pissing my pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beverly Mitchell, she was in. She's in like one scene of this film, which I don't know. I had a huge crush on her too, growing up.
Yeah, I think she kind of had that like kind of cute tomboy thing, kind of like the girl from Step by Step or an Alex Mack type situation. I think.
But like,
I think she was a heartthrob for sure as a for kids of our generation.
I think she was probably underrated because Jessica Biel was also on Seventh Heaven and everybody paid attention to her, of course. But yeah, I don't understand Beverly Mitchell's like involvement. I don't know if she's fully like Christ up or not, because I mean, she's in a lot of fucking wild stuff. Like she was in Saw 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seems like, I don't know. I can't get a read on her. I can't tell if she's all Christ up or not, because she doesn't have like a lot of what do you call it? Well, no, okay, she's executive producer on something called Church People.
Yeah, I get the feeling she has. Maybe she's not. Maybe she just has found her niche, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. Because she is in some Hallmark, some low budget Hallmark Christmas movies for sure. Yeah, she's in Candy Cane Christmas, Rock and Roll Christmas, Hometown Christmas, A Gift Wrapped Christmas. Like she's in a lot of those too. So I feel like she's just found her audience and is milking it for all it's worth, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, most of us would recognize her from Seventh Heaven, which is of course, until they figured out that the dad was like a child molester,
a monster, a literal monster.
They were like, no, this guy, this is like, this was like a little Christian kids, Home Improvement or whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to pronounce his name right, and I don't care, but David Kakachi or Chikachi, I'm not sure how to say it.
Neither do I.
Yeah, he was in Baywatch. That would be where I think probably most people would know him from. He was Cody in Baywatch, and that's definitely where he became famous. But he has since done a lot of absolute fucking trash. To the guy's credit, I mean, he's worked quite a bit. He hasn't been anything since 2002. He did not die, as far as I can see. But he has been in a bunch of just absolute hot shit, and a decent amount of kind of Hallmark type Christmas movies. But he is a dreadfully bad actor. I mean, There's no other way to put it. He is horrific, and so he is really getting like bottom the barrel shit. Like he's not even getting Hallmark Christmas movies very often. So
yeah, he makes Ian Ziering look like fucking Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, he is. I mean, this guy is fucking trash at acting. Those are the main people. I think we can talk through some. There are a lot of characters in this. I think
too many characters we need to mention.
Too many characters. There is one we need to mention, which he appears in only a slightly more impactful way than Snoop Dogg, and that is one Stephen Baldwin. Stephen Baldwin, let's just be clear, sucks. Stephen Baldwin is awful. Just as a human being and as an actor, but he at least knows how to act a little bit, which makes him appear decent compared to some of the shitbirds that are in this movie.
Yeah.
But he plays this. Oh man, we'll wait and talk about it. But he plays such a strange character in this movie, and I don't know what to make of it. And he's so smug, and he has the most punchable face in the fucking world. And he's the absolute. So what is it? Billy, right? Stephen Baldwin. Billy Baldwin is the real like fucking dunce of the group, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I think all the ones that aren't Alec,
yeah,
they're all pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But like Alex also fucked up in his own way. So like,
now he did. Yeah. Yeah, Alec. I mean, they're all notorious shitbirds, but I couldn't remember the third one's name. I'm pretty sure it's Billy.
Well, anyway, there's four. Because there's
who am I forgetting?
Daniel. He's the one in John Carpenter's Vampires.
I forgot that was a Baldwin. Yeah. Steven is the one from Biodome. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to keep them straight in your head, that's what I know him from. And The Usual Suspects, and he's fine in that. He basically plays like second fiddle to Benicio del Toro's character as that kind of supporting duo. But In any case, guys, let's get into this movie because the story is really, really what's going to make you fall in love. So first of all, you start out as, like I said, it's really prominently, whether it's what you're clicking on Tubi, whether it's the poster you see on IMDb, they're really touting Snoop Dogg as a big part of this movie. He is at the forefront. So right off the bat, you get these like hard Christian scare tactics right from the beginning of the movie. And it's like, it's a world moving away from God. And it's all about like how new age beliefs are bad and stuff like that, which is great.
These, I texted you and I said like a minute 30, I'm already mad. Like I'm already pissed at this movie. Mm-hmm. And like, that's where we're at. But like, I immediately got mad just at the logos popping up on the screen because like the logo for the production company is just literally two stock elements that you pull off the internet of like red curtains and a spinning globe. And then they threw the fucking production company's name over that. And I was just like, God fucking damn it. We're already in trouble. And then it moves on to these terrible titles of text that you can't read because they're off the screen too quickly, and they're they put too many like shadowy bevel effects on them, so you can't read them properly. They're off the screen, but it doesn't matter because the stuff that's in these titles, despite it just saying like, like you're saying, the world moves on and like, the world is now populated by people who no longer believe. We call them nuns, and it's like. I'm like, okay, so they are setting up a world where they have like a word for like atheists and they call them nuns because they have nun religion, whatever. And it's just like, it's just hammering you over the head already. And I was just so fucking mad.
I loved it because it told me right off the bat, I was like, this is not going to disappoint. This is going to deliver on everything I think it is. Right from the beginning. And it does in so many ways. You get that voiceover you were talking about, basically ultimately says like demons are coming for you if you don't fear God. There's a bunch of like terrible CGI right off the bat, which you're going to get a lot of. So this snaps back to like 6 days earlier, right? And you have Amy, which is she's the dark one. She's the one that's got doubts the Lord and all that stuff. She's doing this like tarot card reading, and her what we come to learn is her life coach, who's giving her all these like new age mystical belief systems, has a dang foreigner accent, so she's definitely trying to fuck you up in the eyes of the Lord. Yep. She ain't American at all. Yep. And she's trying to like do gay stuff to her and poison her with incense and like massages and chi and nonsense. And the funny thing about this is they're trying to bring in every non-Christian like belief system that the West would view as like new age. Yeah. Meanwhile, some of the things she's mentioning, like discussion of like chi and stuff like that, far predates the Bible or any Christianity in any sense of the word. But she's mentioning all of these things in this just big amalgamation. She was like, don't forget to light your incense, and also make sure you do your vision boards. Like, it's like bringing in like Eastern, like kind of spiritualism with like just power of positive thinking, self-motivation tactics, with tarot cards, with Ouija board. Like, they're just bringing it all in and smashing it into one big thing, which is not Jesus.
Right.
And then they're like, this is what you're into. This is what where you're seeking your answers. Yeah. It's so clunky.
Like, I'm sure there are people who participate in this hodgepodge mysticism of just like picking and choosing, what they think makes their life better. I know people like that exist. That's fine. They're also dumb and wrong, but like it's in this context that it feels super fucking stupid because they're mixing everything together, like you're saying, of incense. They make mention of Reiki healing. They, when Amy goes to leave, I think her name's Liz, the Liz, the healer or whatever, she's like, here, take these crystals with you. So it's everything. It's crystals.
They're big on it's funny though that they're like fucking idiots with their crystals, and then later on they're like, we got to save the world. Here's this little bottle of water. This is gonna help me out.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
How is that better than crystals, you stupid dickhead? But
because
I'll take a crystal.
Because the transubstantiation.
And it wasn't even freaking white. It was supposed to be holy water, which is like literally just a guy said a thing at it, which is the dumbest, anyway. She right off the bat, we start getting these like subtle like visions of this like demonic looking woman in like a black cloak, and it's just like someone with this black cloak on, and then there's a they kind of put some CGI effects over to make her look like, oh, smoky and ghostly. This is important to remember, and it comes back in the funniest way. Is Amy's mom died, and she fell away from her faith. So we start to pick up on that. We don't know how she died yet, but just keep that in the back of her mind. Amy's mom died, and that's what made her fall away from her faith, because she was a good Christian girl before that. Now she's got a demonic life coach that we just talked about, gives her crystals. P.S. Herbal tea, also demonic.
Also,
like that.
Yeah. Also evil. Vision boards evil. Tea evil.
Yeah, herbal tea, fucking evil. They do call that out. Now, all of a sudden, we flash over, and Amy's going to be a contestant on this reality show. And it's like America's Got Talent, but Snoop Dogg. Wait, is Amy a contestant on the original?
I think what we see here is just like the wrapping up of a show.
Yes, and then you get the idea of the production and Barry and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Which is like so fucking.
It's so for.
It's so crazy and nonsensical, which just adds to this, like, there's too many people in this movie and they didn't know what they were making, I don't think. So if you watch the credits all the way through, which I did, because I found some good bits that we can talk about when we get to the end. But it has this film copyrighted at 2018, but obviously it says it came out 2021.
Yeah.
And there's a reference that they make when they're talking to Snoop Dogg. So Snoop Dogg's in this scene. And they're talking to Snoop Dogg, and they made reference to Snoop Dogg's new gospel album, which in 2018 was new. Snoop Dogg did release a gospel album in 2018, which I did not remember, because up until this point,
I did not either.
Up at this point, I was of the mind, maybe Snoop just got tricked into doing this.
Yeah.
And then it becomes more apparent that he's probably was still somewhat tricked, but he did in this period of time go on a Jesus-y path. Yes.
Oh, and I did know that, because I did remember that he went down a Jesus-y path there for a while, and he was talking about like all the spiritual stuff and everything. I remember kind of catching wind of that for whatever reason. But yeah, I didn't realize the gospel album was actually real.
Yeah. It's like a double-sided 32-track gospel album. I didn't remember hearing about that coming out. The last like persona I remember of Snoop Dogg was when he came out as Snoop Lion, which was a couple years before that, and he's just like, I'm gonna do reggae shit for a while. But then
he was super into Rastafarian imagery and culture, and then I'm sure that, because that's obviously like a religious thing too, so I'm sure he just eventually went down the winding path to just hardcore born again Christian. But I don't get the feeling that's where he's at right now. But again, I don't remember this 100%. And I don't know all the details of it. I know he was acquitted of murder at some point.
Yeah.
But I didn't really jump into too deep into it, but like I think he murdered a guy. I'm not 100% on that. I know he was acquitted of it. But, you know, I guess when you're getting later in life and, you know, maybe who knows what happens. And all of a sudden he's like, dang, shouldn't have murdered that guy. Wonder if I'm going to go to hell. Probably should figure that out in my brain.
Well, you know, I'm willing to attribute that he has between 0 and 5 murders.
Yeah.
You know, I'm willing to allow up to 5 murders over the time of his life. So, you know, it's possible. The one thing that definitely has happened is that he was a pimp for a long time, including a resurgence of his pimp behavior in like the 2008 era of like when there was Girls Gone Wild videos going. Like when Girls Gone Wild was going hard, Snoop Dogg hooked up with that pimp Dawn magic wand. And like he brought that pimp everywhere with him, and they had like their own video series of like doing hood shit with hood rats, and like you know, so like he jumped on his own, like, you know, like Girls Gone Wild for the black community, I guess.
Yeah,
but it's still,
I remember that now. Yeah,
it still was just taking advantage of young women for the sake of making money. So he's definitely done that, even if he hasn't done murder, and he should still. Probably has like a reason to get right with God because of that shit.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. Let's just be clear on this. Like Snoop Dogg is a piece of garbage. Like I know he's cute now and he hangs out with Martha Stewart, but fuck this guy. But anyway, this scene, he is the judge on a reality show, and it's kind of like an America's Got Talent type of reality show. And Snoop Dogg is like the center host, and the other two are just made up people that don't exist or matter.
No, they're not made up. No, it's very important.
Who
that
are
not,
they?
Well, they're nobodies. No, they're nobodies, but they are sold as themselves, as if they actually matter. That's the important thing. Is like, so it's Daniel C. Ryan playing herself, and she's an actress from just like kind of nothing movies.
Mm-hmm.
She was Thing 1. Her big credit is she was Thing 1 in the Cat in the Hat movie with Mike Myers.
Oh my God.
That's her big credit. And then the other guy is Matthew Marston, who is like a background actor or like an extra with lines in a lot of movies, like big name movies. Like he's been in Transformers movies. He was in Rambo 4. He was in one of the Resident Evil movies, but he just plays like nothing characters.
Okay.
So to their fucking feeble brains, they see these people with bigger credits and they bring them on to their Christian nobody movie, which is full of nobodies. And they go, look at these big actors we have judging on our fake made up fuck ass show.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking here. I guess I kind of recognize Matthew Marston or whatever in a couple of, like, I kind of recognize his face in a couple of these images, but man, I don't fucking know what. Yeah, I couldn't have picked this guy out of a fucking lineup. That's for sure.
Right.
I mean, he's in a lot. 90% of what he's in is absolute fucking garbage. And then the other woman. Yeah, I just thought they were made up people, which is even better, that I didn't even think they existed.
Yeah.
Wow, he is in so not anything. I mean, besides the ones you mentioned, like there's nothing else. Nothing
like
else.
he's in big movies, but you will never pick him out. And then everything else is the same level of dog shit that everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Wow, it's funny that it makes sense for those two to be judges on like a network reality show. But anyway, the host, like, and Snoop are hilariously bad. Like the host is like, I don't understand why they picked this guy to do it. It doesn't make any sense. He in this world, I don't know, maybe he's a comedian or something. I have no fucking idea.
The other black host on this?
Yeah.
That's Ted Lang, and he was the bartender on Love Boat TV series.
Oh, good God. There's no way in hell I would ever know that.
No, neither did I. I had to look it up. Like I just because his face looked familiar, because I've seen the show, and his face looked familiar. So I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, that's Isaac from The Love Boat. But yeah, nobody's, unless you watch like a lot of fucking Nick at Night, you're not going to recognize his face.
He was in a movie from 2020 that I plan to check out called WRZ: White Racist Zombies.
Mm-hmm.
So I do plan to watch that. That's going on the list. Again, nobody would pick these people out unless you dive down on IMDb. So it just seems like a bunch of just nobodies standing there, and then Snoop Dogg in the middle. He's smoking a whole ass blunt on the air as well, I should call out. And he's like hitting on the lady judge beside him the whole time, the one that the one person I didn't know who the fuck they were.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly reading off of a piece of paper that's on the desk in front of him, like very clearly.
Yes.
And he's giving out the award, like the final like award. Whoever is the person who wins this show is kind of in his hands. And he gives it to somebody, and it doesn't matter, right? None of this matters. It just was an opportunity to put Snoop Dogg on screen, to give him some easy lines and for him to play himself. Then offset, you start to get a feeling, or I'm sorry, off screen, just on the set, you start to get this idea of like all the would-be debauchery that's happening everywhere. First of all, there's these two, I would imagine they're like just production assistants that are running around everywhere, who are the two gayest twinks I've ever seen in my life. and they are just telling Snoop how much they love his gospel album. And it's exactly what you think it is. It's just so fucking cringy. The director tries to fire the two PAs because they asked Snoop for a selfie, but then Snoop like makes some super sexist joke about the director, who's a dude, being on his period. It's like it's so cringy. And then that David Chikachi or whatever his name is, who plays Barry, who's the producer, he's super slimy, all this stuff. They keep having to cover for his wife, cover for him with his wife, because he's running around with all the contestants on the show. And I loved the two twinks trying to act like they're attracted to the people on set. And like they might as well be like, hubba hubba, ladies, boobies, am I right? Like, it's so unbelievably not believable.
I half believe this was part of their conversion therapy, and like they were also actual PAs on the production of Blood Pageant, but then you know got thrown on screen just because it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. This was part of their church ordered conversion therapy. Yeah. So we get this idea. So they've got this new. So this was a show that just wrapped up, right? We never see the show again. We never see Snoop Dogg again, except for the footage that we've already seen of him. And I'll just leave it at that because we'll talk about it later. So now they're kind of casting for this new show, which is more of a classic reality show, real world meets Real Housewives or something like that. And they have Crystal, who's this new hot talent, right? But she loves the Lord so much. And she's teaching Sunday school, right? So we meet her when she's first teaching Sunday school. And this is a line she says, because they're like, he's a Jesus. She tells some Jesus story, and they're like, Jesus is a superhero. She's like, no, he's not. And she's like, because Jesus wasn't a mutant, and David. They're talking about David and Goliath is the story. And she's like, and David wasn't bitten by a radioactive bug. And we're like, that would be more believable than perhaps what actually you just told them. So she's kind of talking down to these kids, because they're obviously, if you are a kid with half a brain and you hear these stories, you're like, wow, he must be like a superhero, right? Because that's a thing I know in my life. She's like, no, not like that at all.
No,
very different.
Not at all. It came from a magic ghost, not from these other sources. I gotta say, the kids at the beginning of this scene, where she's just talking to the entire class, could not be less interested in what the fuck is happening. Like,
Yeah.
we have these two kids that are acting because they obviously want to be child actors, or more likely their parents want them to be child actors.
Yeah.
So they want to make their parents happy, whatever. But the rest of the kids in this scene are staring off. They are head in hands bored, and like it's the most accurate portrayal of Bible study, because kids do not give half a fuck about any of this.
I went to Sunday school, vacation Bible school, all that stuff from when I was a little kid. And honestly, until we started doing like making it competitive, like when I had to do like Bible quizzing, you know what I mean? That was the first time I actually, and I wouldn't say cared. I just was like, oh, now it's a game. Like, you're just gamifying this a little bit. So now I want to play a game. Before that, I remember just counting the seconds, and like them, you know, some fucking high school dropout, you know, standing in front of a bunch of 5-year-olds trying to tell them about how they're going to go to hell. And I'm just like sitting there drawing army men, just like, shut the fuck up. This is stupid. You're stupid. Yeah, these kids couldn't give a fuck less. So we get introduced.
Go ahead. Just quickly. I remember in my experience, because I was Catholic, I at one point had one of those old school super fucking mean nuns. And
okay. Yeah, we didn't have nuns.
She didn't hit any of us, but she had that fucking temperament of like, if you drifted, or if you're just like weren't paying attention, or you were giggling or something, she fucking would snap and bark at you. And I was just like, I just remember, like, because I was also just a big kid, you know, obviously like I'm a huge adult now, but I was a big kid growing up. And there was just a time of like, I'm not going to listen to this little old lady fucking talk to me that way.
I can suplex you, and I'm 6.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'm either going to snap off on this lady, or it's just like, I'm not coming back to this class. Like, you're not, I went and told my parents, I'm like, I'm not going back to that, because that lady's going to get it.
She's going to get it, and she doesn't even know it, and I'm going to give it to her. We didn't have that. We just had, like, you know, especially when you're little, you know, the like, you know, 5 and 6-year-old preschool, you know what I mean? Or Sunday school. They just made you sit at the desk long enough, at a table long enough to say some Jesus-y stuff at you. And then they're like, go play with blocks, you know, go fucking play with blocks or whatever.
Yeah, no, for me, that
was,
was
like, it was like somebody's mom, you know, just babysitting you, basically. That was how it was.
Well, yeah, my mom was a youth minister like that for a long time. Like, she wasn't a fucking psycho, but she was doing that stuff. But But yeah, no, that nun was like a middle school experience for me of like, so like, I'm way too old to be talked to like that.
I ain't here for it, sister. So we get introduced to Josh, who's Crystal's boyfriend, and he's trying to pressure her into marriage because he wants to fuck her. So this is like a really, classic Christian thing. And like that those kids that I was talking about that I watch on Instagram and TikTok that do the, ask the Mormons, all the Mormons questions at BYU. Apparently there's, and you hear about all these things like, soaking and what's the other thing? Yeah. And oh God, what's the other one? Basically like horny Mormon kids do to like, be like a lot of dry humping and shit like that. Right.
Yeah, there's soaking, but then there's step 2 to the soaking, where they have their friend jump on the bed to initiate the motion.
Yes, I love that. I love that loophole. That makes me so happy. It's so silly.
Fucking rules.
But they have this this thing where apparently a lot of times this is a very common thing that happens at BYU is kids get engaged like 3 weeks into freshman semester because they meet each other, they have feelings for each other. They're real horny and they want to fuck, and they go, okay, we're getting married. Fuck it. We're getting married. And so like all these kids are like, what's the craziest thing that ever happened to you? And like one of their answers at BYU, one of their answers is always, my roommate got engaged 3 weeks into freshman year. Like that, it happens all the time apparently, which is really funny. It's really funny to just be like so horny you have to get married. Like
Yeah.
I'm so horny right now. We have to get married. Like
We
soon.
have to get married.
It reminds me of that sketch on I Think You Should Leave with the guy like, honk if you're horny. Have you ever seen that one? And the guy's like,
I don't remember it.
I won't explain it then. I won't ruin it. But it's really funny. This guy's just like so horny. He's like, oh, my stomach hurts. I'm so anyway. So he's trying to pressure Crystal into marriage because he wants to bang. And Crystal's like, I'm just, I don't know if I'm ready yet. Like, it's not, I don't know if that's what God's leading me to do. Or she says a lot of shit like that. So then we get in on set. This is them kind of arriving at the set. So Crystal's going to be on the show. Amy's going to be on the show. And they're arriving at like the house, right, where all the contestants are going to stay. And eventually they're going to get, they're going to pick one that is like America's Next fucking jerk off. Who knows, right? It's just one of these like house kind of reality shows. First of all, you get this really... I really like this character. There's a chef at the house and he is really mad because they all have special dietary requests. Like these are all like actresses, and not only actresses, but presumably the worst type of actresses who are the ones who want to be on reality shows. Like it's a well-known fact in Hollywood that the absolute bottom of the barrel scummiest people in Hollywood are people who want to get on reality shows or make their career on reality shows. And so they're portraying these types of people, but instead of portraying them as like, the things they do in real life as being absolute shitbags, they're portraying them as they are all vegan, vegetarians, and gluten-free. And that all that stuff is why they're bad. Right. Yeah. So the chef is like, are you fucking kidding me? And you're like, wait, you're a Hollywood chef and you are furious that people are vegetarians, vegans, and want to eat gluten-free. Yeah. Like it's just,
he's not even a chef that's like a Guy Fieri chef. So like he's not like a rock star chef. So like you should just be expecting that these people are going to want a special diet and take it as a challenge as a chef.
Yeah. Well, this would be something that's just part of your everyday life.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. But they make it a big scene to show off like how frustrated he is by it and how he's like constantly villainizing them for being having like special dietary requests. We start to get these little things where like little demonic shit's happening. Josh has these headphones on, and then all of a sudden over the radio, because Crystal's listening to some weird Christian propaganda radio station, and like demons start talking over the radio, and she's like, what was that? And he was like, I don't know, bitch, I have my headphones on.
Yeah.
Like, can we get married now? I'm so horny.
I wasn't listening to your dumbass radio.
Yeah. So Crystal is played up early as like the true Christian, right? And she's the only one that actually knows what's going. She's the only one who's actually sane in this crazy world. Like that's very much how Crystal is portrayed, but she is by far the most dangerously insane person in this movie. And just so, I mean, this is obviously a Christian movie meant for a Christian audience. So like watching it feels like you're getting a little bit of a glimpse inside, like you're reading somebody else's diary a little bit.
Yeah.
Wait, she's the hero? Like she seems insane. She lectures Josh, her boyfriend, about like spiritual warfare and all these like Christian right-wing talking points, like very Christian nationalist, frankly, talking points. And she literally thinks God is talking to her.
Yeah.
And she is portrayed as the most sane person and everyone else is crazy. And like I said, it just feels like reading like, I was going to say Mein Kampf, but it just feels like you're reading some sort of like dangerously insane person's memoirs or something,
Yeah. It's the, if her character showed up in any regular movie,
yeah,
she would get fucking bullied so hard until she shut the fuck up. Or I don't know if you remember this movie. There was a movie called Saved back in the day, and had Jenna Malone, Kieran Culkin, and Mandy Moore. And in that movie, Mandy Moore.
Oh, and then when you say Mandy Moore, now I remember this. I've never seen it, but I do remember this being a talking point.
Yeah, it's a good movie though. Go back and check that out. But yeah, Mandy Moore is basically like Crystal, and like she is the most villainous piece of shit in the world. Dan asked, "Is she the daughter of Mrs. Carmody from The Mist?" Yes, it's very close. The only difference is she got blonde hair and blue eyes, so she got to be the real Christian National Dream.
Well, that's the thing too. She's the most Aryan looking fucking woman I've ever seen in my life too, which is just like makes me, uncomfortable in and of itself, kind of. Anyway, so you get the idea right off the bat that Josh, the boyfriend, is like a fucking poser Christian. He's just in it for because she's into it. He's trying to butter. He's in Christianity as many of us were, for the pussy, because that's where that snapping ass pussy is, at Bible camp. Anyway, so Christian, there's this whole Christian pop music soundtrack. It was the part that, if there was one part that really, I really struggled with, it was the soundtrack. There are times where it's laugh out loud funny, and there are other times where I would rather swallow nails. Like, I'm not even going to do it justice, but it's a lot of original. You could tell like either original or like they definitely went to some like local, some low level, Christian pop act, and we're like, hey, this will get you some exposure if you let us, use your tracks in the movie. And they're dog shit. So
the soundtrack is just like all these original compositions, and it is by a guy who has like a small role in the film, but I couldn't pick him out if I needed to.
Oh, okay.
But also, I believe his wife and or daughter is Liz, the healer.
Okay.
So they're both in the movie, but they also provide all these original soundtracks that you have to fucking like listen to. And then there's another guy who's his name's Morlon Greenwood, and he plays Ari, and he provides the other half of the soundtrack. Nice. So it's this duo. I don't know their relation, but Martin and Natasha Blasek are the ones providing a lot of them, and Natasha is obviously the one who plays Liz. And then there's Morlon Greenwood. So like this production is so skimpy that they can't help but just put the people who do their music in as characters.
You have a full ass character. You have a pivotal role now. This just jogged my memory as a complete side story of a woman that used to babysit me when I was a kid, like when I was little, when my mom had to work. She released a Christian album I would say the early 2000s. And when I learned about it, I was like, my mom was like, oh yeah, she released an album. And I was like, what? She's like the last woman on earth you would expect to do that. And so me and my brother would like relentlessly make fun of like her Christian album. And then I went and I was like, oh, so she's like, no, my mom's like, no, I think it's like kind of a, because in 2002, when your mom hears that someone released an album, they just immediately assume they're a rock star. And they're touring the world, right? And then I went in to buy somebody a card at the Hallmark store, and she was working in the Hallmark store, and her album was for sale on the counter at the Hallmark store. I was like, I don't think this is what my mom thought it was.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, that lady probably would have gotten in trouble if Hallmark corporate would have heard about it.
I'm sure they would have. Sure she would have. So Barry, who remember is the shitty producer, played by perhaps the worst actor in the fucking world. He is, and this is really before we kind of get full glimpse of this, but he does say something about when his wife calls, like, tell her that I'm out or whatever. Like, he's definitely sneaking around on his wife. But in this instance, she shows up and she is leaving him because she has learned of his infidelity. And like I said, she's Lucy from Seventh Heaven. So this is the only thing she shows up in. But Barry is like, tries to explain that he's the victim because all these girls are like throwing themselves at him and stuff. It's a really funny scene because she has a couple of lines. I mean, obviously he's in the wrong and he's a terrible actor, but she has a couple of lines that just feel like they were pulled out of a hat. Like, they don't seem to have anything really to do with the conversation they're having. But you could tell it was just an opportunity to get her on screen because this is the only part of the movie she's in. So all the other contestants start to show up. There's this Chinese contestant. And I was like, I can't wait to see what happens to her. I thought it was going to be, it's mildly racist, like in that she wears like these ceremonial looking like Chinese gowns and stuff, but they don't do anything super racist with the Chinese contestant. I really thought it was going to be better. I thought it was going to be more racist. Mm-hmm. But I was on the edge of my seat when I saw the Chinese contestant.
I was expecting more racism as well. They do get a little bit racist just in the fact that like they have her at one point like arguing and on the side of like there's no honor in what you do. Just like a lot of like kind of buzzwords that you would expect people like white people to write dialogue when white people write dialogue for Asian characters. It's something you would expect.
Yeah, I agree. It's mild compared to what I expected, but it is absolutely there. Again, it's this kind of Bachelor type thing. So there's all these, or Bachelorette, Bachelorette. I don't know which is which type thing. Anyway, you have this one woman. Her name's Mocha. She's got like a little dog. You've got Amy. She's now on set. I guess she's a contestant. Which at this point you've only seen her from like when she was going and hanging out with her, with her healer life coach. But her ex-boyfriend is actually on the production team and he broke up with her. Now he has a new girlfriend that he's living in sin with. But Amy's like, trying to get back with him. And he's like, actually, I have a girlfriend or whatever, maybe even a fiance, I think. But in any case, so there's a little turmoil there. They sit down to this like dinner scene, right? And Barry is just housing wine, just getting all slopped up. The like vaguely ethnic woman, her name's Mocha. She's like feeding her little dog the food and stuff. And there's this scene where they're like, just comment about the food and say it's the best food you ever had. And it wasn't even that. It's just like, they were like, oh, how do you like the food? And this was on camera. And Crystal says something along the lines of, oh, this is really good. It's almost as good as my mother's or something like that. Just like some vague complimentary
her
thing. Grandma's. Yeah. And they cut the scene and are like, and the director, who is also a horrible actor, and he has a British accent. I don't know if he's British or not. I like to pretend that he isn't, and thinks he's doing a good job by adding this accent. But he's like kind of always really flustered and frustrated. He's like the classic screaming, yelling psycho director. And he's like, you're going to sit here on set or on camera and tell me that our 5-star chef isn't as good as your grandmother's cooking or whatever. And she's like, well, my grandma's dead and it'll be disrespectful to my family. And for some reason, this is a hill that both parties are willing to die on. The director is insisting that she say it's the best she's ever had in her life, which such a silly thing to insist on an actor doing. But second, she's taking a hardline stance that I can't say that because that will damage my relationship or hurt the feelings of my family. Yeah. And it also would be a lie, and she doesn't lie. And so and literally at one point, the director goes, Crystal, no one gives a rat's ass about your grandma. It's such a funny, stupid scene of like, it's not it's one of those scenes where like in a after school special, it would be like, hey, take a drag off this cigarette. And they're like, no, I won't. They're like, well, I won't be your friend if you don't. But instead, she just won't say she likes someone's cooking better than her dead grandma's.
Yeah. To top it all off, just the cherry on the top of this interaction, she starts trying to cry, and obviously she's a terrible actress, so it looks hilarious.
Yeah.
But she gets so worked up. She gets to the point where she's yelling at all the other women, and she says, she tries to say the line, I won't like disrespect my dead grandmother's memory. But what she says is grandma's memory.
I didn't notice that.
Well, I call being disrespectful to my family and my grandma's memory something else.
Oh my God. Now I got to go rewatch this movie. I got to watch that scene. If she said grandma's memory, I'm going to piss myself. I do vaguely kind of remember her mispronouncing something, and but I didn't make the connection that that's what she said.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, she says grandma's memory. This film overall, I'll bring up another one when we get to it, but this film overall is filled with some of the most bizarre, like, line deliveries.
Yeah.
Like the inflection is put in the weirdest place on some of these lines, and I don't understand how you let that go. Like, how do you not pick a different take, or how do you not do a different take when you hear somebody read the line completely incorrectly? It's shocking.
It's either no one paying attention or overseeing, or they're just in such a rush, like, or she just couldn't. That was the best she could do. You know what I mean? Who knows? But there's, especially in this scene with all the discussion between the contestants, like snapping at each other and stuff, just so much of the banter between the contestants is just asinine. And then you start to get this thing that happens where people will just randomly start to like catch fire a little bit. And like the Chinese contestant, like, basically says the line about how there's no honor or blah, 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 whatever. And like says, I'm leaving, and takes, leaves the set, presumably. And as she's leaving, like the side of her plate kind of like catches fire as she leaves. We'll get back around to this because this is obviously a recurring thing, but it's just shitty, like CGI, type of fire. But the girl who did all the like demon shit at the beginning, Amy, right? She's getting ready for bed. And first of all, I noticed her bedtime outfit a little too sexy. Just gonna throw it out there, a little too sexy. The Lord doesn't like it. People are gonna get too horny. And then she has her not spirit board, her vision board. And she literally wrote at the top, it's a pink piece of poster board, and on top she's wrote Amy's manifestations on a piece of a presumably very evil pink poster board. And she's got this weird necklace with like a pendant on it that has like a pentagram. And that was given to her, of course, by her satanic life coach as well. And she's got this vision board, and she's writing all these things on them. And she's like writing phrases that certain contestants on the show said to her during this argument, during these scenes. And then she goes into this almost like trance chanting thing with her saying all these Latin phrases that she apparently doesn't know what they mean, but that her life coach told her to say. So just then, Crystal shows up at her door, and again, she's good and pure because she's white and blonde and smiles a lot. So she's like, I hope everything, I hope you're good. Everything is fine with you or whatever. And Amy's like, bitch, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to like pick sides? Are you trying to get in my head? Like, cause this is a reality show and no one trusts anybody. And, at one point, Amy says the line, I'm a good person. Cause she's like, oh, are you some sort of Jesus freak? And she's like, I'm a good person that just happens to be really into Jesus. It's like, bitch, what is you talking about right now? So so that, everything kind of ends there. Like, she's like, no, come on, we should leave the set. Like, this isn't healthy, whatever. All of a sudden she feels like she has this, I don't know, big attachment to Amy, which Amy is weirded out, as she should be. If that woman comes to your door at night and starts saying all this shit, you should be like, call security. Meanwhile, you have the Chinese contestant, and Amy had written on her manifestation board by her name a phrase that she said to Amy, which was that she would choke on her words. Well, now you start to get the idea. There's the Chinese contestant. She's in the bathroom, like looking at herself in the mirror, prettying herself up, whatever, and she's got this plate of fruit. She eats a strawberry. And she chokes on the strawberry. So choke on her word, she chokes. So you get the idea of what's going to start to happen to the other contestants. They start to get, picked off by, their own thematic death associated with a phrase that they said. Mm-hmm. So we get back to set, and the director, the British director, which is hilarious because he sucks really bad at acting flustered. But he's literally always flustered. Like, there's never a scene where he's not flustered. And you could tell he just hasn't figured it out. And he is, there are a lot of really bad actors on this production. He is near the top of that list, I think. At least for people who pretend to be actors. I'm not talking Snoop Dogg and shit like that. But
right.
It's pretty painful.
He's towards the top of the list of people who are trying. But then there's everybody else who's not trying that are just also just, I don't know. It's definitely like a tiered list of like, there's people who have done things, people who are trying to do things, and people who have never done things and are just
yeah,
there.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So here's our first scene, quote unquote, with Snoop Dogg after that opening scene where he's on a different reality show, not the one that the show is based around. And they do this thing. Let me describe it. Barry, the producer, they are trying to portray this as Barry and Snoop Dogg are like tight, like they're boys, right? So Snoop Dogg will just call Barry at random times, like FaceTime him. But instead of Snoop Dogg being back on screen, when he calls him on the Face Talk with this big goofy font, they only had the scene, the footage from the reality shows. So they just clip it together to make it look like they're having another conversation, with the producer, like they're buds. But it feels like something from a 90s sitcom or like a local morning zoo crew radio show where they're just putting like Arnold Schwarzenegger sound bites on a soundboard and just, clipping them. It is hilarious. And I can't tell if they're in on it or if this is like this is tongue in cheek or if it's really, they're trying to pass it off as Snoop Dogg is in the movie.
I think they are really trying to pass it off that Snoop Dogg is in the movie more than he is. They are trying to put it together like he's doing a real like conversation. They're trying to stretch it out as much as possible because the thing is he is always we only see Snoop Dogg in two states in this movie: sitting in the chair at the desk doing the judging,
right, or
he has one scene where he's standing up and they talk to the twink PAs. So he has those two states. Everything we see that's on the Face Talk or the FaceTime, on the phone when he's having conversations with Barry, is him sitting at the desk. And
with the same sunglasses on, same shirt, same everything. Yeah.
And the
same
best
background.
Same shirt. Yeah, he doesn't change his shirt. We know this film occurs over a week because we're told that at the beginning of the film. And he doesn't change his shirt once. The funniest part is, you mentioned it earlier, like how it's very apparent Snoop Dogg is reading his lines off a piece of paper, like off screen. If you look at him in this scene or any of these subsequent scenes where they're zoomed in on his face, you can see the reflection of that like paper or tablet in his sunglasses. You can see his script. It's fucking rules.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, you could tell he's reading off either a piece of paper that is supposed to be his notes on the desk, or of course a cue card that's right in front of his face. But anyway, so there's this like, I don't know, like rehearsal, like dance rehearsal thing that they show. I don't know. It was beyond cringy. And I'm pretty sure the song gave me hepatitis. I mean, I didn't really have anything else to say about this, but it was just it was so fucking stupid. It's I guess it's like supposed to be, I don't know, a promo or a segment on the show, but they're all doing, Crystal included, are doing like a sexy dance. Is really all I have to say. They're just like, it's like a music video almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of dancing, and you could tell like Crystal's like mildly uncomfortable with the whole thing, and of course you're getting like glitchy demons in there too, right? So you're getting like and they're acting like it's technical, things, but it's some sort of demon glitch happening. But doesn't need to be in there. Doesn't make any sense.
They wouldn't have been able to see the demon glitch either because they're all being filmed on a green screen. We were already shown that. And then we're shown the demon glitch on the green screen, and it's like everybody saw it happen live. And it's like, that's impossible. That's technically impossible.
Yeah, they don't treat the green screen like a screen. They treat it like it's a giant LED behind them.
Right.
Because they're like, all right, turn on the special effects, and the guy's like, and the special effects start, and it's just like swirly nonsense in the background, and then again like demons pop up for a quick second, and nobody sees it, or I don't know. And then there's this thing where like honestly it felt like it should have just had like a foreshadow warning on the screen, because a complete non sequitur, one of the girls is like, I'm afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, moving on. And they just move forward.
Great.
It's the most blatant, stupid, transparent foreshadowing ever. Now also Barry, the producer, is apparently the host now. Like, because they showed a host early in the first scene where like they were doing promos and he was like, this is going to be a hot season or something. You're like, oh, that must be the host. Barry's the producer. No, now Barry has just gave himself, he's just put himself inserted himself in the host role, apparently because he wants to bang all the contestants.
Mm-hmm.
So another, kind of instance of like a fire sparking or like starting to burn, this is something we've seen a couple times now on Mocha. But then the like set designer guy comes out and it's like, this isn't a real fire. Those aren't, this is a gas fire. Those isn't real wood. And they were like, well, a spark just flew out. And he's like, that's impossible. And so they go to this trouble to explain something that doesn't need to be explained.
Just to be clear, we've moved on from the green screen set. And we're now outside at night.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. We are outside sitting around the fire, right? Yes. Yeah. We've moved on. We're sitting around a fire pit, and it's just like one of those like little intimate settings on one of these dumb shows where some sort of drama is supposed to start, but they just happen to be sitting around an outdoor fire pit when the spark thing happens. And Crystal starts just like quoting Bible verses with these sad eyes, and Amy's mad because God made her mom die right on her way to get baptized. So we learned earlier, if you recall, that of course Amy's mom died, and she's pretty bummed about that, and it's made her question her faith and whatever. And like, oh, okay, it's not the most far-fetched thing in the world. But then we learned that not only did her mom die in a car accident, she died in a car accident on the way to get Amy baptized. That's a very specific point that they call out. And Amy's saying all this stuff about like, why would God do this and all this stuff? And Crystal's quoting Bible verses at her. And again, you take this out of context, I am 1000% on Amy's side. She seems like a logical, regular human being, and Crystal seems like a fucked in the head psychopath. But again, we're looking at it through different eyes than 99% of the viewers of this movie. But in the most strikingly unnecessary but hilarious, like, improvised thing the producer does. Barry decides that he wants to hold a seance on the show to talk to Amy's dead mom.
Yeah.
And Amy's like, fine.
He just brings it up. Like, it's the idea of like a high schooler. Like,
Yeah.
like if you're at a party and you're just like, you're fucked up and, you know, somebody says some dumb shit and you're like, oh, we could do a seance. I know where a Ouija board is. You know, it's something you would hear in like a dumb high school movie. It's not something an adult would say about hearing about the death of somebody's mother. It's just, yeah, it's so fucked.
Yeah.
The other part of this, there's a lot going on in the scene that I hate it, but there's a lot to it. But like, again, going back to Amy's origin story.
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't baptized, but she already gave us the impression that she like was a Christian and then fell out, you know?
Yeah.
What? But how could you? You were a baby. You were a baby.
Well, there are, and I think maybe it's Baptists, but I mean, something like, you know, Lutheran, Catholic. I grew up Lutheran, you grew up Catholic. Lutheranism is just, you know, Catholic light, basically. You baptize, you know, you do christenings. Now, we didn't call it a christening, we called it a baptism, but it was the same thing. It was a christening, right? And you do it to a baby. But in a lot of Baptist and other like Protestant sects, I don't know exactly which ones, including like what is it called? Like the Universal Church of God or something like that. They actually do it later, like when you're like a teenager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But in any case, I guess we had to assume that was the case, or perhaps because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Because how was she a Christian before that and like kind of quote unquote lost her faith, but was unbaptized? But yeah, I guess it could have happened when she was. Yeah, and a baby. That's the other thing that makes that not make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Amy tries to make out with her ex, who's got the girlfriend or is engaged now, and he.
Wait, before we move on, my other line reading. Like there again, there's more of these line readings, but this is the one that I decided to write down because, boy, it really hit me. Is when Crystal's going off on all her Jesus-y shit and like trying to tell everybody about faith, and she's just basically proselytizing to a bunch of
big time,
who gives a fuck people, like people who aren't interested. But one of the women, I don't remember her name, and I don't remember. It might have been the Isabella character. But she says, and this is how she delivers the line. I was raised Jewish, and I believe I don't always go to temple. So the way she reads the line,
she read that. She didn't know how there were like she spoke the grammatical error into the real world. Yeah.
So it's supposed to be like. It's supposed to be read as I was raised Jewish and I believe. So like it's a double statement of like she's Jewish and she believes. But the way she reads it in the movie is that I was raised Jewish and I believe. And then she thinks that she continues on with what she believes. But her next sentence is I don't always go to temple. So
yeah. I believe I don't always go to temple.
Exactly.
I mean, last time I checked, I don't always go to temple. Yeah. I'm not sure. I believe so.
I don't always go.
Yeah. I mean, they were just like, put it in the fucking can here, guys. Like
right.
Yeah. Nobody could have been paying attention and let that slide. But
wrap it up.
Yeah.
The other possibility for this is that the editor fucking hates these people. Because
it could be.
Because as a person who has worked on a number of freelance gigs for Christian entities, they are among the worst paying people, but also the most demanding people.
I can see that. Yeah, church folks, they they are the ones yelling at the person at Starbucks. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you see those like videos online of people like going off on Target employees, I guarantee 99% of those people never miss a fucking week of church.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they have the most expectations for the least amount of money. So I can fully believe that they got like a secular editor who was just looking to like get a start somewhere or make ends meet somehow. And they put a lot of fucking demands on him. And he decided, fuck these people. I'm going to get them. Because I've definitely said, I'm going to get them a couple times myself.
I'm going to get them.
I'm going to get them.
Yeah. So after the around the fire scene, now Amy's back in her room. You know, she tries to kiss her ex-boyfriend who's engaged. He bails on her. He's not having the whole thing. Mocha uses the line that someone doesn't have a leg to stand on. And now Amy uses that in her little, Latin demon prayer. And then then this weird looking, like almost, it looks like a demon bride kind of shows up. And then a suit of armor kills Mocha with an axe, and CGI blood sprays on her dog. It was a pretty good scene. I'm not gonna lie. I liked when the CGI blood sprayed on the dog. And I was like, that I'm pretty sure is a way someone dies in 13 Dead End Drive, the board game.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just such a great stereotypical way of someone dying. So then she does a little demon prayer in Latin or whatever that makes her ex-boyfriend super horny, and then he comes over to bang her, and that was like a little bit of a side quest she went on, and you're meant to believe that she thinks this is all just like some like power of positive thinking type of things, and she's not actually saying demonic prayers or whatever.
Yeah. She does wipe blood boogers in the shape of a heart, though, because she's bleeding from the nose while looking at her vision board, and so she just sticks her finger in her blood boogers and draws a little heart around the photo of her boyfriend, and to draw him in for banging.
She does. That is part of it. So she knows there's blood involved in the ritual, at least. But then there's this whole like bikini scene thing. And I love that all of the women are like blasting their nips, but not Crystal, because good Christian women don't have nipples. I like that.
Not like that.
Yeah. Isabella, who was one of the other contestants we haven't really mentioned a lot because she just chimes in the back with dumb lines sometimes. She tries to seduce one of the extremely gay PAs. So a demon hand lights a fire in the fireplace. Like she's in the tub and she's trying to, seduce him. Like, oh, look, I'm naked. And, he's like, no, I'm gay. But actually he says like, oh no, I'm a Christian. I don't want to do that or whatever. And then, a fucking Freddy style like hand pops up out of the tub and pulls her down into the tub and presumably drowns her. So now they're just getting knocked off left and right. The director is freaking out because, he thinks they're all just leaving set because they're all these, prima donna types. And then after that's happened, they just have the few people back on set and they're doing the whole swimsuit, photo shoot or whatever. And then this other producer shows up and there's like a strong assumption that he is a porn producer that the one other actress was working for, and potentially a pimp as well. Yes, it's kind of heavily suggested. Shows up and tries to steal one of the contestants. Like, no, you're working for me today, bitch. And she's like, no. And then they're like, and then Barry's like, you should get out of here. And he's like, well, like I'm gonna kill you, bitch, or says some sort of pimp thing.
Some sort of pimp thing.
some sort of pimp thing, like I'm gonna kill you, bitch, or whatever.
I love
So Crystal,
I love that
Oh,
there's
go
a
ahead.
showdown between the pimp producer and the director, and
Mhm.
they literally back to back take their shades off at each other. Like the director steps up to the pimp producer and he takes his shades off, and the literal reverse shot is the pimp producer taking his shades off, and
Yeah.
the director's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Producer." Like he just takes his shades off and producer. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean anything to anybody. Like we obviously
Producer of what?
yeah,
Yeah.
we obviously understand that you're like a pimp and a pornographer, but they just didn't want to.
Yeah.
They didn't want to say it in their vaguely sexual, like horny movie. Like
Yeah.
that's the other thing about this movie is you get a lot of bikini girls. You get Isabella in the bath, which is very implied that she's nude. There's somebody else you see in the shower, but not nude. And then they have an almost sex scene, and then 3 instances of swearing that I remember.
Yeah.
But you also never really see any of the violence for the most part that kills the women.
No. Not really. I was going to say in this scene, I actually was a little scandalized by one of the comments that the pimp porn producer says, because he was like, "Why weren't you on set today?" or whatever. And he's like, "Cause I'm here on this show. You know, I got this, and this could be my big shot." And he goes, "The only shot you're good for is money shots."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, scandalous."
Yeah. Like he knows what money shots are, which like, again, is like a little bit of a titillation, I guess, for a Christian crowd.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
They were like aghast.
yeah. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
how evil. Or, I mean, not really, because their reaction is supposed to be how evil, but really they're just, guys are just watching it going, yeah, I bet she could do a money shot.
Yeah, I'm going to go Google big boobies later. So it's time for the seance. Crystal won't go. She ain't going to the seance because,
Nope.
that's devil shit. So she instead, no joke, just decides, I'm going to go to church at night. She goes to church. She finds Mocha's dog on her way to church, running around all covered in blood. And then she sees the demon lady just like walking down the street. And then the demon chases her to her car. And then the demon like stares at her out the window of her car. And so she blasts off. And then the demon like chases her in the car. And then this is a funny phenomenon with Crystal, is that when the demon shows up, Crystal will start praying at it and saying Jesus-y stuff at it. And it doesn't seem to affect the demon. But then when Crystal just raises her voice and it's like, "Get your ass out of here," then the demon gets scared when she raises her voice. So she's chasing her, and Crystal's saying the Lord's Prayer, but nothing's happening. Does not work. But then she screams, "Get the hell out of my car." And then that does work, and the demon flees.
It is implied that praying, though, does start her car. Because she's
That's true.
She's trying to do the car turnover trope of horror films, and it doesn't work, but she says a prayer and that it does work. So sometimes
That's
praying works.
Sometimes it works. That's what we're meant to believe, is very rarely, but occasionally it will work. So then she goes to this empty church, and she just is like, decides she's going to pray there. And she's just walking around, just like fumbling around the church. She walks over to like the kind of vestibule area with all the candles. And you think she's going to light the candle, but then she just walks away. And to explain why she walks away, they ADR over it. "Oh, no matches." She goes and walks over to the pew and sits down. I'm like, why was that necessary?
It's like the point and click adventure games of the 90s where you try to complete a puzzle. And then they
click on the candles. Whoop, no matches.
Yeah, they tell you why you can't complete the puzzle. It's like, oh, no matches. Oh, I should get some matches.
Wonder where I could find the matches in this joint. So and then all of a sudden, Stephen Baldwin shows up. So you've been waiting the whole time. When Stephen Baldwin's going to show up? We've seen our Snoop Dogg. You know, we've got our promised Snoop Dogg. We even got that little bonus scene with Snoop Dogg. You're wondering whether he's going to show back up. But then you're like, I haven't seen a lick of Stephen Baldwin. Well, here he is. He shows up and he's a priest. And he's wearing his glasses way down on the super far down the bridge of his nose in the most annoying way. But she tells him she saw a demon in her car. And he's like, okay, sure. And like, he just completely is just like nonplussed by the fact that she said she saw a demon. He's like, yeah, that makes sense. You get the idea that he was just lurking around the church and he just took a minute out of his busy day of molesting children to just say a bunch of dumb shit at her, like a bunch of cryptic fucking nonsense about like day and night and dark and light, all these like just really empty platitudes about not really giving her any practical advice about what she should do about the demon that's stalking her. And then he's like, you know what? Hold on a sec. I got something for you. He gives her an ancient Bible, like from what they say, from the 1300s or something. I forget.
It's specifically from 1692.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
it plays into the later. Yeah.
So it's a dang old pilgrim Bible, and then a glass butt plug full of holy water. It's like, here, take this. You're gonna need this. This character, Stephen Baldwin, is so hateable in this movie. He plays another. I don't even say another character, but he's in a scene later that's way wilder. But in this instance, the way he talks, the way he delivers lines, he's supposed to be this like mystical priest or whatever, but he somehow communicates stupid and smug simultaneously better than maybe any actor I've ever seen. Like, you can tell there's nothing behind his eyes, but he's still very smug. And he's a ghost. Never mind. Moving on. Like,
and he's a ghost.
They just kind of insinuate that he's a ghost. They're like, she's like, he says some stuff, gives her the physical things that he hands her, and then she goes to talk to him, turns around, he's gone. And you're like, oh, I guess he's a ghost. Okay. So then we get this next kind of, frankly pretty racist call out where I'm pretty sure the only black person in the movie besides the Snoop Dogg and the guy from Love Boat
and
at
Ted
the beginning, is this woman who's leading the seance, and she is doing, like, she's dressed as Miss Cleo. There's no way else to explain it. She is doing a vague Miss Cleo. Spooky shit starting to happen, but the crew is just like, oh wow, they did a good job with the special effects. Meanwhile, of course, nobody did any special effects. And then Miss Cleo starts speaking in like a fucking demon voice, and then says that he's coming for Amy, and sparks fly out and and Miss Cleo kind of starts to turn blue. And then the best part about this is Amy just passes out for a second, and it's never explained why or when she comes back. But just all this stuff's happened. Everybody's getting spooked out. And Amy just literally just like puts her face down on the table, and then just wakes up a few moments later, and it's like not really mentioned.
No.
And then
I do love when the medium turns blue though, because it looks like Violet Beauregard from Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
like they just did a blueberry effect. I don't know. I mean, all the effects are fucking terrible. Yeah, I just don't understand why they didn't think to really think more about that one.
No,
but yeah,
nope. Change the color in post. And then Miss Cleo starts praying and performs an exorcism on herself, which that might be the first time I've ever seen that done in film. She does a full-on exorcism on herself, kicks the demon out of herself.
Yeah.
And then Barry, who's a fucking numbnuts, is like, wow, that was a great performance. Really good job, everybody. Great special effects. And of course, the set people were like, we didn't do any special effects. And Miss Cleo's like, that's fucked up. That's some evil Satan shit. And she's like, you got to get some sage, burn some sage, get some oil and holy water. And I'm like, how are those things different than crystals?
Right.
Like burning sage, that and incense and stuff like that all very much predates Christianity. There's nothing Christian particularly about it besides it's something that just a ritual that stayed, within the, it didn't stay within the confines of the church. It just was adopted by the church. And for her to say like,
Right.
I'm going to you should go burn sage. Meanwhile, yeah, crystals are stupid. It's just such a, glass house argument. Like,
Yeah. I mean, even again, back to the beginning, we're shown Liz, the healer, like burning incense.
mm-hmm.
But incense is, one of the things they bring Jesus as a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like frankincense and myrrh and gold. And I believe one of those is like a type of incense, isn't it?
I don't know what frankincense is.
I don't know. But
I don't know what the fuck myrrh is either.
yeah, but even still,
I think I learned one time and forgot it promptly.
Sure. But even still, like, I think even still they have an incense burner in the Catholic Church because they have that fucking wicked ball and chain thing they swing around that looks like a weapon.
Yeah, Kate grew up in a Catholic church and she used to just pass out every time they brought the incense out. She just would habitually pass out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of those churches are highly just like old and don't have proper ventilation, and they get hot as a motherfucker because they can never afford AC. So they bring out this smoky ass ball and just like everybody's choking and having like you're basically being forced into religious visions because you're losing oxygen to your fucking brain.
Yeah, you're just sitting there sucking up carbon monoxide or whatever the fuck's burning off of that. God knows where they got that from. So now we get another FaceTime call from Snoop.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, was he in the bathroom at this point? I forget, but he's in the bathroom and they're getting a FaceTime call from Snoop. And Snoop, again, he's just talking like the audio clipboard from the Drive Time radio show. And then there's a demon in the background and they're running out of clips to use. So that it's starting to get to the point where what Snoop is saying back to them seems like just a series of non sequiturs.
Yeah, it totally is, because they just had him run a bunch of lines. Like at this point, he probably actually isn't, even though the script is still in front of his glasses, he probably isn't reading a script. He's just repeating what the director says. So like the director will just say, okay, now say, oh, that's crazy. And then Snoop goes, oh, that's crazy for sure. So like it's just
generic responses. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just running a bunch of wild lines that they can input later. The other thing I love about this scene is this is one of the more hilarious soundtrack songs, because
I can't remember what's in this one.
So Barry's getting ready to get some pussy, and in the background there's just this song. Like there's a lot of these songs that are just like they're on the nose as to what is happening, and this song is just like, I got my drugs and my drink and I'm ready to go.
I wrote down, later on when the scene starts happening, there is a funny line that I did write down. It's like, because he's about to take mushrooms and bang two of the contestants on the show. And there's literally a line in the song that's like, magic mushrooms, take me there to a place where I don't care. Yeah. That's a literal line. I was pissing myself.
It's so fucking rules. That they have a bunch of these that are just like on the nose. Then they have other ones that are just they're on the nose to the vibe of the scene, where like one of them is like singing about time is running out, and it's like we're at the kind of like denouement of the film. So it is the end, so they're just like, time is running out. I have to go. It's just like, it sucks so bad, but it's so funny because you would never, as a normal brained person, score a film with just having the song speak exactly what's happening.
You almost expect one to be like, this is the lull in the second act. Like, it's just so fucking, like, you could tell, like, the producers or whoever was, reaching out to these people to figure out what the hell dumb music they were going to put in it. They gave them some notes about when they should, like, hey, make sure this song pertains to this. And they took it just extremely literally and wrote songs about exactly what was happening on screen.
Yeah. I wonder, and it's a possibility. I'm not going to give a lot of weight to it, but it's possible that because this film is marketed as a horror comedy, it is a funny thing to do to write those kind of songs. It's a funny thing to do in for a Naked Gun film or something more absurd.
Yeah. MacGruber or something.
MacGruber. Yeah. The real famous one is in Basketball, where Trey Parker's listening to the radio and it's literally singing the last, hour of the film. Like the previous hour of now you're on your way to the airport to go find your best friend.
He's in his car.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not unheard of to do that for comedy films. So I'm wondering, did they do that? And then just the rest of the film is completely unfunny. I don't know.
There's a couple times where I didn't want to, but I was like, is there a little wink, wink, nod, nod here? Like, nothing else is funny. And the other parts where they're trying to be funny are so not funny that it would feel like a tonal inconsistency for them to actually be doing something funny and tongue in cheek here. I'm just going to assume that they're fucking morons, but the Basketball just reminded me, me and my brother still quote a line pretty regularly from Basketball, which is not even one of the funnier lines, but it's just when he's trying to freak each other out during the free throws or whatever. Yeah. And he's like, Steve Perry, Steve Perry. And they're like, no Journey psych-outs. And we'll still if we're doing any type of playing golf or ping pong, we'll be like, Steve Perry. It's such a funny movie. Anyway, so he's talking to Snoop in the Snoop's, soundboard in the bathroom, and he, a demon shows up in the bathroom in the background. So you're like, okay, so Barry about to get his, right? So the demon lady is following also Amy's ex-boyfriend when he comes to bang Amy, because again, he's sex crazed maniac now because she did demon spells to make him horny. So this is great. Barry is having a threesome with two of the contestants, and they're all tripping on mushrooms and doing some very light bondage with a necktie, tying Barry's wrists up to the bed. And they are making it sound like it is the height of hedonism. This is just this is the most depraved shit in the world. And I'm like, this is pretty sick. I'm gonna be honest with you, this seems cool. Barry's doing cool shit now. Yeah. Have a threesome, do mushrooms, do some light bondage, just whatever floats your boat. But they're just acting like this is just the height of hedonism.
This may be the reason why this actor just took this film. He read the whole script and then he saw this scene where he's like, oh, I get to lay in bed with two hot ladies. I'll do this piece of shit.
With their boobs? Do they have boobs? It's but here's the funny thing is the demon attacks Barry while he's all tied up. So first of all, the girls also get taken over by the demon, and they they see each other as the one girl sees the other girl as her pimp / porn producer, and then the other one sees her as spiders. But you don't see this. You just hear them say that they're seeing the other girl as this, and then they punch each other to death.
Well, they do
in 5 seconds.
They do have shitty CGI spiders for a second.
Oh yeah, maybe they do. Yeah.
It's like for a second. Like it's one. I think it's like one shot each. You get one shot of the pimp producer. You get one shot of the spiders, and then that's it. And then they punch each other to death. And then the one, and this doesn't even make any sense. The assumed hooker, or pornographer, or whatever her thing is, sex worker, just general blanket sex worker.
Sure.
She grabs like an award, a Cable Ace award, from a desk. And then we cut away to the witch's face. And when we cut back, the sex worker falls off of the top of, I think it's Isabella, assumedly having killed her, but there's nothing to say what killed the sex worker. She kills Isabella, and then she falls backwards dead.
I just expected it was like one of those, in Step Brothers, where they both simultaneously hit each other when they're fighting on the front lawn, one with like a baseball bat, one with a golf club, and they just do like a double knockout. It's obviously a very weak scene. Like, it sounds like, oh, they beat each other to death while, Barry's tied to the bed tripping balls, but it's obviously very stupid. The whole idea is that Barry's not dead. The idea is that Barry, the maid finds them in the morning at this scene. And the idea is that Barry's alive, but his brain's just so fried by the magic mushies that like he's in a fucking psychedelic coma or whatever. It's like he took that fucking, acid goo from Mandy, but instead he just like ate a couple mushrooms. His brain got fried.
That's what they think happens. A hero dose is a couple caps.
So Amy wakes up, and there's like, this is really when the movie just goes off the rails. Like, if it hasn't already, this is when shit just really hits the fan. They wake up in the morning. Amy wakes up, and there's a CGI like beating heart on the pillow beside her. And she like screams, but then she just walks outside of the room. Just walks out into the hall and is just like forgot about the heart. Not like, oh my God, there's a fucking beating heart in my room. She just walks outside like, oh my God, wait, who are all these people? And just forgets about the beating heart. Meanwhile, the whole house is just crawling with, I guess they're like FBI or CSI type people, like crime scene investigation people.
They're all supposed to be cops, but they're dressed a little too nice. Like they're wearing their Sunday best, but they look like FBI agents. But they should just be like regular LA detectives is what they're should be.
But I just thought it was nice of them to let Amy sleep. Like they didn't wake her up. They were tearing the house apart, but they just let her sleep. Didn't wake her up. Just let her wake up on her own time. If they would have went in and woke her up and investigated, that as they were investigating the rest of the house, they would have quickly realized that there was a beating heart on her pillow. But no, they don't. So Crystal is interviewed by the one detective, and she's being a narc, as you would expect her to do.
Right.
And the detective, which I thought this would come back around, I don't think it did. The detective is like really preoccupied with like these little sweet cakes on the table. He's like really like offering to everybody and like really concerned with what he's eating and drinking. Like he's telling people to get him coffee. He's like eating the little sweet cakes and just really preoccupied with the refreshment situation at the crime scene investigation.
I also like that he has a name that's 3 titles. His name is Chief Detective Wrestler, which is 3 jobs: Chief, Detective, and Wrestler.
That's true. Yeah, it's like being a astronaut, cowboy, pirate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here's something, and you might have looked this up. I meant to and completely forgot. I tried at the time just to do a little bit, but I couldn't figure it out, and then I never went any further with this. I think I might know, but I'm not 100% sure. There's these 2 long-haired detectives that are clearly not actors. They're like cameos.
Sure.
And they're like, they even make a joke, like kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke about it. They're like, hey, what's with the long hair? And they're like, oh, we're undercover. And it's kind of like a wink, wink, nod, nod thing. I have to assume they're just some sort of fucking Christian rock band or something, because I did not recognize either of them, and I couldn't find anything about it just in my preliminary Google search. So if anybody,
so
Dan
one
says
of
they're
them,
the assistant operations directors.
yeah, he's not wrong. He's not that
Really?
far off. He's not that far off.
Yeah.
At least one of them. One of them is Gene Gilmore, and I believe I'm gonna take a stab and say he's the one with the blonde long hair. The guy who looks completely unsuited to be on camera.
That's a nice way of saying like kind of ugly.
Yeah. He
completely unsuited to be on camera.
Yeah. He is the associate producer of this film.
Okay, so why are they do this wink, wink, nod, nod thing then? If these aren't like recognizable people that like an audience would recognize,
Because they're doing it for themselves. They're jerking themselves off.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just, are they literally just doing this as an inside joke? Like they wrote a line in that's just an inside joke for the fucking staff of the movie.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So stupid and embarrassing.
Like, I mean, it happens a lot in like student films. Like I remember like pretty much everybody's student film at one point had like a fucking in joke, like a joke for the class, you know? Because we knew.
Yeah, but you're a student, not like an actual supposedly professional production.
Exactly. And we know that nobody's really going to see these outside of our family, friends, and the class itself. So, you put little fucking winks and nods in there because you think it's funny at the time. But no, when you're trying to market a film to a grander audience, you don't do that shit because you look like a fucking asshole, or you do it in a more clever way.
Yeah, it was nothing clever about it.
Yeah.
So Snoop gives Barry a call now, but Barry's brain's mush. So the calls are apparently getting forwarded to their phones. So Snoop calls the PAs, and it's a similar situation. They're just trying to get his face on screen a little bit more, and they're just doing the whole clipboard thing, and I just never get sick of it. I also wrote down that these two PAs are always 0.5 seconds from sucking each other's dicks. Like they're just
I can't wait to get each other
gay
off camera.
They can't wait.
The one kid, the one who wears the cross, and like he's the one that got hit on by Isabella, the most Christian of them. He is so much the Keith from Righteous Gemstones.
I still haven't watched it. I need to.
Okay. That's for the audience then. But like he is Keith from the Righteous Gemstones minus the shitty prison tattoos. Like he even looks like him. It's so fucking hilarious.
So Amy and Crystal then have this like horrible scene in Amy's room where Crystal explains the Latin chants were offers of sacrifice that Amy got from her life coach, who is AKA, the devil's life coach. And she's just like, oh, I speak Latin because I teach Sunday school. What? And then she just, explains all this stuff about how like she summoned the devil and, did a deal with the devil and fucked with demons. And now that's why all this demonic shit is happening. And I just like at this point in watching it, I was like, I would pay money to see Crystal get hit by a train. Like she's just the most hateable piece of shit character in the world. And she's supposed to be like the hero here. This is really funny. They go to Amy's like life coach's website and quickly determine that she's a dang old fucking witch. like some serious internet sleuthing here. And then you get this scene because quickly luckily, Crystal is able to solve all of her problems by just doing a series of very simple Google searches. And she determines that this order or this coven of witches has been like active in this area since back during the Salem witch trials, and we get a little flashback scene, which is wild. The flashback scene is where the witch curses the future descendants of the town or whatever, or of these people, and fucking Billy Bob Baldwin or whatever, which one it is the priest back then too. So again, he's an eternal ghost priest, or perhaps a time cop of priests, or perhaps he is. I have no idea. I actually don't fucking know what we're supposed to think he is, but he was back then. He was the priest of the town too.
Time Priest is such a fucking funny movie to make.
Oh yeah, that is a great one. Time Priest.
Just a priest.
And it's just a sketch. And he's like, oh, I'm a time priest. And he's like, smoking a cigarette, being like, I'm a time priest. I can jump all throughout that. And then it's just cut to all these different eras in time. And he's just molesting children in all different eras. That's the only thing that's happening.
That's the direction I was gonna go to, but my direction was
it's like a murder. It's like a Murder Fist sketch. It sounds exactly like a Murder Fist sketch.
Yeah, just a priest from way back in the day. So he's got
an eye patch, and he's like smoking a cigarette. He's like, I've seen a lot of shit, and they try to act like he's like this cool anti-hero, but they just cut to him just molesting kids in all different eras.
Like maybe he's from the Inquisition era, or maybe or even earlier, and then he jumps into the future, and then like all the other, all these people look to him because he has the true orthodoxy. He's the closest to he's closer to the word of God than everybody else, and then everybody's looking towards him, and then it's just revealed, oh yeah, he also molests kids. Like that's just a thing that's been going on forever.
yeah, and he like knows all the sweet tricks of how to get away with it.
Right, yeah.
So this is the wildest part about this scene. We're back in Salem witch trial days. We're in the 1600s all of a sudden, and this movie, I'm not exaggerating at all, they are painting the perpetrators of the Salem witch trials as righteous and correct. That is the stance this movie is taking. Billy Bob Baldwin was right now, and he gave Crystal all the advice she needs, but also he was the priest back then, and he was responsible for the Salem witch trials, and that the women were actual real witches, and he did the right thing. That's the stance this movie is taking, by the way.
Yeah. It's
just
not even
a lot of CGI fire, as you might imagine, too.
It's not even alluded to in a way, because so most of the time we get it. Reality is that women were falsely accused and punished because the common Hollywood way is to portray them as that. Sometimes you get it as like, most of them were innocent, but there was one bad witch.
Right.
This doesn't even try to allude to the idea that this was just a bad witch. No, they're just right in doing what they're doing, and this is just one of the witches that they got rid of.
And specifically the person who put this, like who put this sentence of burning them into action was somehow had some sort of like ethereal knowledge.
Right.
Because this is it's strongly suggests, they don't say it, but it's strongly suggested that he's like an angel or something.
Yeah.
Because he's immortal and, is handing down fucking. Meanwhile, he's not one of those cool Old Testament angels with 6 sets of wings and 1,000 eyes or whatever. This is just fucking Stephen Baldwin's ugly, smug ass.
Right.
This is touched by an angel. Which makes it even more annoying. But it's heavily suggested that he is an angel or yeah, with a fucking stupid smug face.
Yeah, he's not even in good shape because he's an older man. He's not in good shape anymore. He's just barely holding on because he has some money. The other
Probably
thing,
gambling debts too.
Probably that too.
Yeah.
The other thing I like that they do in this scene is because Stephen Baldwin is supposed to be like this, angelic or spirit or whatever it is. They have to curse somebody in this scene, and it can't be him. So it's the woman standing directly next to him that gets cursed by the witch to carry on through her bloodline through the rest of time. Not Stephen Baldwin, who we've seen have a connection to the film. It's just this random woman, and fuck her, and now she's cursed.
Wrong place, wrong time situation for her, unfortunately. So the burned, demon, or the burned witch lady is Abigail. So she's the damn witch demon ghost or whatever the fuck she is. And the life coach is part of the coven that I don't know, worships her or whatever, has moved those practices into the modern times. And Amy is a descendant of the woman who got cursed that you just mentioned.
Right.
And maybe Crystal is too, ?
Maybe ? But probably not, because Crystal's blonde.
Yeah.
The other
true, but they don't they suggest that she's cursed too? I don't know. It was a line that she said that made me question that. I might have misread it.
You might have misread it, because also in this scene is important that Stephen Baldwin points out to the woman who gets cursed, as long as you stay in line with Jesus, you'll never have a problem with the witch. And that's why Amy has a problem with the witch, because she didn't get baptized and stay in line with Jesus. I also just again, it's the woman standing next to Stephen Baldwin who gets cursed, not the guy who actually lights up the pyre and sets the witch on fire. None of the other men in this scene. It's just the one woman standing there.
Just standing there. She's standing there eating a sandwich. And she's like, what, me? You talking to me? Well, also there's this, what did I do? Yeah. And there's also there's also this thing where the pendant on her neck that the life coach gave her has some of the witch's ashes in it, I guess. But is it just the bloodline, or is it the necklace that it doesn't matter? It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't matter. It's very, and we learn all this stuff that we just spent the last fucking 10 minutes talking about. We learn in 15 seconds. It just is vomited out in dialogue and on screen.
Yeah. Crystal hasn't been in the movie for the most part at this point. She just comes back for the detectives and then this scene to regurgitate all this bullshit. And then here, Amy, here's the internet, you asshole. You can look any of this up.
Yeah. And you can get recipes too. But so Amy goes all demonic on Crystal at this point with I don't know if it's a letter opener or a knife or something, but she's got something spiky and she's going after it. And Crystal just does basically Jesus foo on her and just knocks it out of her hand. And then they see on the back of her vision board has satanic symbols on the back of her pink vision board. It's just made of cardboard, which is funny. And I just love that they are so anti-positive thinking in this movie. They mention positive thinking so many times as it's horrible or it's laughable.
Yeah.
And it's just not that I'm one of these people that's oh, if I say something, I can manifest it or whatever. But just the way they keep phrasing it is yeah, well, look where positive thinking got you now, you fucking gluten-free cock. That's the subtext to everything.
It has to be something along the lines of and it's personal to the filmmakers that somebody was butthurt by that book, The Secret. Somebody somehow that book, The Secret, butthurt one of these writers, and then they just got mad at it. Maybe it's just a vague vendetta they have of The Secret was taking people away from Christianity. They weren't looking at real faith and power, or like maybe they got hurt by reading The Secret and then the manifestings didn't work, so they turned to the church. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got to be something weird in there just to be so indignant about positive thinking to the point that they expend their only F word in the entire film to have Amy rip the vision board up and scream, "Fuck positive thinking."
Yes. Yeah. That's the line. It is. It's laughable, and it does feel like somebody had some sort of personal vendetta against something regarding this concept of positive thinking.
Yeah.
So Amy quickly snaps out of her little demon trance, and her and Crystal, team up for the Lorb. Then we get this like haunted house sequence where they're just basically walking through the house. Like Amy's just walking through the house and just finding dead people. Like the chef is dead. He's just kind of got a knife in his chest or whatever. The life coach shows up and starts stalking them around the house. So it's this little cat and mouse thing. We mentioned she has a foreign accent, so she's scarier. And then I put in parentheses, "Goddamn foreigners mumbles this movie." This is just me making myself laugh in my notes. But the life coach ends up cornering Amy in the basement, and she admits that this is my favorite reveal. She admits that she was responsible for Amy's mom's death before the baptism. So she, power of positive thinking, mom Amy's mom to death on the way to get Amy baptized to keep, the bloodline unbaptized, I guess. But up to this point, if she was still okay with Jesus, she was still in the clear. The baptism didn't make sense until she started doing crystals and herbal teas. And then that's when the demon really got hold of her. But also the girl, the life coach doesn't seem to be old enough to make that timeline make sense either.
Nope.
So it's all a little screwy, but apparently Amy is she's like, we're waiting for one final sacrifice. And so you think Amy is the final sacrifice, but no, the life coach stabs herself in the belly and immediately dies like she was shot in the brain. The second the knife touches her belly, she just dead. But why did she have to come there to do make herself be the final sacrifice? Like, why did she have to stalk them around the house and all that stuff? Like, that seemed very unnecessary.
Oh, for the same reason I told you at the beginning of this episode that I'm going to kill myself in front of you just to horrify you.
That's true. Yeah, that's probably right. Just to make it scale wheel.
Yeah, just to fuck with you for the rest of your life.
I love how this first movie affected you so much, because there's so much worse stuff that's coming. Much worse. Again,
it's my own hubris collapsing in on myself. I'm just like,
yeah.
I didn't know this movie was going to be 2 hours fucking long. I didn't know.
So that is a rarity. Almost none of the other ones I looked at were this long.
Yeah.
This was by far the longest one I've seen so far. But in fact, another one I'm thinking about doing is actually, I think, like under an hour, which is like, I don't know. Yeah. But anyway,
I'll let you pair two together if you want to do two that are under an hour, because then it'll.
I need more suffering.
Yeah.
I need more suffering. So the demon witch ghost Abigail is resurrected, right? Amy says a bunch of shit into her phone about how she's dumb and God rules and whatever, instead of running from Abigail. Like, she's doing that, she's basically recording herself, right? And this was the scene we saw at the beginning of the movie. But now we know all the things that led up to this. Then we learn the demon witch ghost Abigail's only weakness: doors. She cannot get into a door. So if she just closes the door, lock it, she's going to have trouble. Crystal decides she's going to undo the whole demon ritual by doing a God ritual.
Yep.
Which is funny because that's 100% what it is. She's like, no, we're going to pray and do other stuff. Like, no, you're just doing a different ritual. Don't fucking act like, that you're doing something like wildly different here. By by the way, Josh is here now. He just shows up out of nowhere. You're like, oh, forgot about fucking Josh, the boyfriend,
Yeah, right.
that wanted to bang Crystal. He just shows back up, and then all of a sudden becomes like a really big part of the movie again. Like we haven't seen him since the first 10 minutes of this movie.
We haven't seen him since he dropped Crystal off.
Yeah, he did. That's true. He just dropped her off, and now he's here again. Crystal is essentially like a fucking demonic MacGyver. She just determines, she can just look around the room and figure out the things that need to happen to undo demon shit.
Mm-hmm.
So she determines Amy needs baptized in this utility closet. And so they do a quick exorcism plus baptism while being attacked by a demon witch. And also, why can the witch just willingly touch the Bible, but not touch Amy? Because when she grabs Amy, she gets all burned up, right? But she just slaps the Bible out of her hand.
Well, when she grabs Amy, well, no, it's when she's grabbing Josh that she throws the holy water on the. Yeah, I don't know why she can't touch Amy. I don't know, because the movie's fucking stupid. That's why.
Because she just got baptized. She's got a fresh baptism in her. I was surprised that she could touch the Bible too. Like that seems like something a demon witch shouldn't be able to touch. Also, the lore here is just very sloppy. But here's the weird question mark here, and I didn't rewind it because I was like, I just need to get through this. Whenever she grabs Amy and like dissolves into dust or whatever, does Stephen Baldwin's voice come over? Like, do we get a quick little voiceover of Stephen Baldwin?
This is even better. This is better. So perhaps you didn't notice it when it happened.
Yeah.
But the witch comes out. We'll just quickly go from A to B. The witch comes out of a mirror and now is in the room with everybody, and she grabs up Amy.
Yeah.
But it's after Amy has been baptized, and a hand comes from off screen, and the witch is saying in Latin, "You're mine now." A hand comes in from off screen, and it says, "Not anymore." And that hand, the hand you had to see had a wound in it. That was the hand. It was the hand of Jesus Christ. Because
Jesus Christ literally came down and snagged her up and was like, "Not today, Junior," and grabbed her.
Yes. And the role of Christ is played by two people. So the hand is provided by long hair detective.
Okay.
Which may be the other reference to being undercover. Maybe he's saying I'm Christ undercover or some shit. I don't know.
Oh God.
And then the voice of Jesus is played by Anthony J. Sands, the director-writer.
Sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was supposedly the angel Stephen Baldwin saved her, but yeah, they literally, I didn't see the wound. So literally Jesus. So this begs the question.
Yeah.
Jesus was sitting there watching all this happen. And until the baptism happens, he was going to let that witch kill them all. He was like, better get baptized. Better get baptized. I ain't going to help you unless you get baptized. And then they did a baptism. And he's like, fine, I'll help. I'll lift a finger to save you.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus, now that she's baptized, Jesus will fucking take care of business. And like, he could have saved all these other people. But no, fuck all these other people.
If this is what you believe, Jesus is a fucking asshole. And so are you for believing it. If you believe that is literally what's happening, Jesus will just sit there and let you get it killed by a demon. Demons don't exist, but like, let's say you believe that exists and you're like, that is such bizarre logic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bizarre.
It's always been like, it's just an obvious thing that, whether it's God or Jesus, if somebody is willing to put you into peril until you beg them to help you, that's a sociopathic thing. That's, that's Buffalo Bill in the well shit. of
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to put you in the well and then you're going to beg me to get out. I'm not going to let you out anyway, but I could if I wanted to. Like that's sociopath shit. So that's why you can't you can't believe any of this, because they're willingly letting bad things happen to people all the time.
Well, and it's also, it kind of plays right into the old and I forget, there's a this particular kind of anomaly has a name, but I don't remember what it is. But it's like the idea that, okay, if God is all knowing and all loving, then the fact that suffering exists either means that he's not all knowing or not all loving, or the fact that, the default, like this belief system would have you believe, the default is hell. Right. So unless you do some stuff to get back in his good graces, the default is hell. And if he creates you to send you to hell if you don't do a couple of things, he ain't all, he isn't all loving. And if he is, and I've heard people say, well, it's not like it's a book that God wrote and it's already finished. It's a book that he's writing as we go. And I was like, well, then he's not all knowing. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. If he chooses to give the devil power, he's neither of those things.
Right.
And if he doesn't choose to give the devil power and the devil is doing this against his will, he's not all powerful. Like there's a lot of logic flaws in this philosophy.
There's tons of logic flaws, but and again, it's because all these logic flaws are invented by humans. Like you can have a deity that is omnipresent and omniscient, but just does not involve himself. But it's always this bullshit where they say he gets involved, and so they make him selectively involved. Yeah. And by making him selectively involved in events, they break things. They break everything. Like you can have a god who just like decided he's not gonna do one thing or the other, which is what free will is. Like he said, okay, you can have free will, but now I'm no longer involved in protecting you, so it's up to you to find your salvation. That's fine. I don't believe that, but I can go along with that as logic. The Bible also says that God knows whether you're going to heaven or hell when you're born. Right. So,
or when he creates you,
yeah.
So that kind of throws a real fucking monkey wrench in that.
But again, that's the flaw of any religion that's invented by human beings. They can't keep their fucking logic straight. So
they can't keep their story straight, and then also nothing is provable. Right. So the argument becomes pretty weak for something that's not provable or able to be proven or disproven. But in any case, let's we'll get off our fucking atheist high horse for a sec. But in this context, the whole baptism thing seems just even fucking dumber, right? That is just literally a little ritual. What is he getting out of it? What is God getting out of that? Besides just like kissing the ring, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this all, everything evens out great and everyone's happy. And then they're just sitting there and Josh somehow survives. I can't believe it, but Josh survives along with Amy and Crystal. And Josh is flexing so hard in this scene. Like he is just flexing his arms and chest as hard as he can. And then there's a couple of lines that I just need to say and that the logic is so trash. And I loved it. So Crystal says, that thing almost killed us because you didn't follow God's rules. You always complain about how they're so restrictive, but they've been around for a very long time for a reason. Which is fucking trash logic. That line again, I was just like, the only thing that would make this, redeemable is if someone just a red dot showed up right between her eyes and just fucking blew her brains out. This is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, and she was just killed for no reason.
Yeah, and then I would have been like, yes, thank you, whoever. And then you looked up and it was actually Jesus standing there with the sniper rifle. I don't know what that means, but that would be awesome.
He just does like a little sign-off salute, like,
Yeah, flicks a cigarette and salutes. But
you got it, Brian.
And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. and then it was Barry, and this whole thing is Barry's fucking trip dream that he's having. But no, the rules, like basically what she just said is rules are better than logic.
Yeah,
that's what she said.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. They're rules, and they've been there for a long time, and rules trump logic. And it's just such a fucking smooth, fish-brained thought process.
These lines are so fucking nerd shit that like this character, like again, this character would get beat up in any other film. Like if you said
she'd be the worst character, she'd be the worst character in any other film.
Yeah, if you said some shit like you didn't follow the rules, it would like they should get their pants pulled down and pushed over somebody behind them. Like
yeah. Honestly, if it makes me feel like it, speaking of The Thing, Dan mentioned Mrs. Carmody from The Thing, or not The Thing. I'm sorry, The Mist. I feel like if they redid that, she would be the hero. I mean, like Crystal, and they are very much on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
To make things even funnier, Crystal now agrees to marry Josh, and he's like, if we could deal with demons, I think we could deal with marriage. And luckily, he brought the ring with him.
Yeah.
And he pulls out the ring and gets on one knees and proposes. And I just thought to myself, how great would that have been if that whole thing, the entire movie, was a K Jewelers commercial, and they were like, every kiss begins with K, and then it was just crap. That was it.
I mean, even if it was just like a giant billboard behind them, just like framed in a way that like you can see all the logos and everything, but just like a very clear product placement thing of how they funded the movie is like they got K Jewelers on board.
And like Xena Warrior Princess is like there with her little heart pendants or whatever she used to sell. But so then the song that plays during the credits is you have to hear it to believe it. Like it gave
fucking
me immediate diarrhea. It was so ridiculous. And that's the movie, you guys. That's the whole movie.
It isn't, Brian. See, now we watched on Tubi, and Tubi has this thing where it'll fast forward to the next movie.
Oh, where they're post credits?
There's some credit shenanigan, and there's the post credits. So let's.
Okay, I'm excited. You're gonna have to tell me because I watched it on Tubi and I didn't get to see it. It just switched off.
Yeah, if they didn't program it to not go to the next movie, you missed a little bit. First, I want to point out in the credits at the very end, or not even the very end actually, the special thank yous. Okay, the special thank yous come up before like a lot of other credits. Like they're still thanking. Like where they rented cameras from and shit like that. It's like, well, that should go ahead of you. But in the special thank yous, they thanked themselves.
Thank themselves? How did they phrase that?
There are little tags for Anthony J. What's his fucking face? Sands.
Yeah.
And Chris Gilmore and some of the other producers. They all thank themselves of like Anthony J. Sands. And he's like, thanks for 3 years of do. And Chris Gilmore, thanks for keeping everybody sane. And it's like, you would never, ever, ever, ever fucking do that. Is like, if you're somebody who's above the line, like you would never thank yourself after you've already gotten credits for being a director and a producer and a writer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a fucking like, patting yourself on the back.
Shameful thing.
Yeah, just a shameful behavior. And then at the end of the special thanks, and I want to read this word for word because I clipped I did a little screenshot clip just so I could read it word for word and not fuck it up. Yeah. But at the end of their special thanks, it says, "Last but not least, to all the bad people in quotes who harassed us and interfered with the making of this picture, we still went ahead and made it no thanks to you, so there."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the most childish and frankly non-Christian thing
Yeah.
I could think of.
It's childish, it's non-Christian, but it's also that it's that same fucking mentality of we're the victims. We're always the victims, and I would love to know what the situation is, because I know they're not the victims. I know it's like,
oh yeah,
they did some bullshit and pissed some people off, and like they were like either skipping out on bills or were just generally rude to like some people who were working for them or something, and just I don't know what it is, but the fact that it has like bad people in quotes, like I don't know what that is, but yeah.
Oh man, I can only imagine. I mean, talk about turning the other cheek there. That's the literal opposite of that. You went to extra effort just to like rub someone's nose in it. Meanwhile, the people who you're talking about, I'm sure would never watch this piece of shit movie either.
Right. Just to be petty. And then after all the credits roll, we get the maid, and she comes downstairs into the basement, into that dumbass like unfinished basement of a mansion. It's supposed to be of a mansion, but it's like the ugliest basement you can find. She comes into the basement with a bucket and a sponge, and she starts wiping up the concrete floor. It's only just a little bit of business though for her to find the pendant, and she picks it up, and then her eyes black out as she's possessed by the demon witch ghost once again.
Oh Christ. I thought it was going to be, fucking Billy Bob Baldwin smoking crack or, doing something that they just caught like behind the scenes.
Just whacking off with Jesus.
Yeah, something fucking crude. All right, guys. That was Blood Pageant from 2021. I would urge you to honestly, there's a lot to laugh at. It's worth a watch. If you want to get stoned, if you want to do some mushrooms right before you have your satanic threesome, go watch this movie. Get a good laugh in. Get all the laughs out before your satanic threesome. It is streaming on Tubi. It's trash. All right. Okay. So if you recall, we had a little segment that Steve would do at the end of Family is Forever that he called the oil check, where we kind of check in, see where we're at, and get my thoughts on certain elements of the movie. We're going to do a little role reversal here. You boys got Youth Group is Forever, and I'm going to do my own little segment here. So step on in, Steve. Come on in. It's spooky in here. Welcome to the Hell House.
No.
Where the eyeballs are grapes and the guts is cold spaghetti, but the mind control is real. All right. So first of all, in the spirit of forgiveness and Jesus's eternally forgiving nature, whose performance or character in this movie would you forgive? Meaning, which is the one that is that was your favorite, or perhaps even the most tolerable in your mind?
Oh wow, who would I love this question right off the bat though. I like this setup. But who would I forgive? Man, like I want to forgive Snoop Dogg, but like I don't care about any of these other people. Everybody else can go fuck themselves. How about actually I'll forgive whoever the girl is who played Isabella. She had big boobs, and then I don't think she did anything else like this, so
yeah.
I'll forgive her, and if I can extend that to all the other girls, I'll extend it to them as well.
All right. Nope. Can't. Only room in the lifeboat for one. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
Isabella is forgiven.
Yep.
Everybody else going to hell. All right. If you could compare this movie to one or maybe a combination of not shitty movies, what might you compare it to?
Well, let's see. I did bring up Saved already. Like, so go check out Saved, because it has the proper intonation of, the blonde, Jesus freak rule follower being the villain. That's the proper term.
Being the bad person that everyone hates. Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe you could also draw some parallels to Drag Me to Hell.
Okay.
It's some like, she gets a curse. She's, followed by a demon witch. It, it has some control over her life, and she does some nasty things, but like, it's also directed by Sam Raimi. So it's completely fucking batshit bonkers. So yeah. Drag Me to Hell is probably the better version of this film.
Yeah. I like that. All right. And the last question, which we'll keep asking you every time we enter the Hell House, because at the end of the Hell House, by the way, maybe should we explain what a Hell House is? We talked about it real quickly at the top of the show. It's just a shitty Christian themed haunted house that they used to ruin Halloween for kids who aren't allowed to go to regular haunted house because their parents are too religious. But then they will also have rooms that are like, if you dress sexy, you'll get raped or whatever.
Right. It was they had it featured on an episode of King of the Hill, and it was about like, I think Luann was part of it, and like it was she was playing a woman who like had an abortion, and then it's like all the aborted babies go to hell and shit like that. So it's like it's basically trying to scare you straight in like the shittiest way possible.
Yeah, it's don't have sex because you're going to get pregnant, and don't have abortions, and don't I don't know, be gay or whatever. Last question that you got to get asked at the end of the Hell House.
Yeah.
Steven.
Yeah.
Are you prepared to accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior?
Pass.
Yeah, not yet. Okay.
No,
all right. We got more movies.
Movies.
I'm hoping at some point we're going to convert you, and this is going to be a tale of salvation by the time we get to the end of this trip. So,
can I suggest another movie instead of?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Drop Dead Gorgeous. It was like it was a 1999 black comedy mockumentary, and it's basically Kirsten Dunst is in it, and it's basically kind of the setup to this film of like a bunch of beauty pageants, a bunch of girls competing in a pageant, and then they like some of them die. It's a fucking great movie.
Yes.
It's funny.
Yeah. I have not seen that in a long time, but then I was like, this doesn't sound familiar. But then when you said about the pageant, then I was like, oh yes, I remember that one, because it's got Allison Janney in it, who isn't she like the mom or whatever, the stepmom maybe, I forget.
I think she's one of them. And then like Kirstie, I think Kirstie Alley is Kirsten Dunst's mom, and then like Amy Adams is in it, and then Will Sasso is in it as a mentally disabled person, but it's one of the funnier quotable lines that people used to quote for a long time is his character would just like get his overalls stuck in his car. He would just like get his overalls stuck, and he'd just be yelling, "Help, Hank! Help Hank!" So a lot of people,
yeah, Hank was his name. Yeah.
So a lot of people quoted that for a long time, but
oh boy. All right, guys. We hope you enjoyed our first episode of Youth Group is Forever. Again, this is just dipping our toes in this with Blood Pageant. We've got some real son of a bitches of movies coming up here that I'm very excited to talk about. And you know what? If you've got suggestions, we're going to be doing this for better part of the next year, going through these goddamn movies. So if you have suggestions, because I'm just discovering this magical subgenre that is weird, cringy Christian horror, please suggest them to me. I'm down a rabbit hole on them, and I've watched quite a few, but I still need to round out the list. So please give me some suggestions. Anything else, Steve, we should mention here? Thank you all, obviously, our Patreon subscribers for supporting, and hope you dig the show. Steve, anything else we should mention?
No, just thanks. Thanks for everybody coming along to our next venture, into our next deep dive into fucking awful movies. Like I feel like the Patreon will never be good movies, unfortunately, unless we start making really good money, and then we can start doing a second Patreon series. But we'd have to like make a lot of money.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Peace be with you.